take his person on the first school committee board and let's see all the province and the office. Roll call. Mr. Blakely.
Present.
Mr. Caldwell Wilson. Present. Mr. Harrison. Mr. Michelle.
Present.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Present.
Ms. Vaughn. And Ms. McBride. So then let's see, we're gonna go with the first person on these recreations. Okay,
Hi, how are you?
Okay, look, Maria, or Director Richardson has requested that I just read some of the, summary information that's part of her budget. Recreation, well, first of all, Joan Garrett, Budget Officer for the beautiful city of Trenton. For recreation, natural resources, and culture, the above budget is split as follows. The salary and wage right now is 56% of budget, and other expenses is 44% of budget. Right now, the current request for capital sits at 544. Well, hold on a minute. Is it 544?
5299.
Let me see if let me get that right. Sits at. Okay, for natural resources. Okay, let me make it distinguished. The distinguishing component here is for natural resources. The current request for capital is 544,200. There's an additional amount for natural resources, or for recreation actually, right?
No, the actual amount for natural resources is 4,700,000. Yeah.
Okay, I'm getting back into this thing that I wrote back in the ninth. So for natural resources, it's 4,755,000. Okay, capital. That down payment would be 264,960. And right now, overall unexpended capital is about 2,059,037. When we look at salary and wages, we just have one department, natural resources, which is projected to be overexpended for once we get to the end of the year.
Reading this.
I'm reading the cover memo. And the front, the page that, there's two pieces to it. The top piece is recreation, natural resources, and culture. That's the one where there's 544,200. And then and that's just for recreation. For natural resources, the request was 4,755,000. Now, of course, the down payment on that one would have been, the total down payment would be 264,960. But again, at this juncture, we have not proceeded to a general capital budget yet.
I wanted to ask a question to the administration in reference to the recreation and natural resources. Where do we stand at with the CDBG grant money? Where do we stand at as far as that money? How much of that money do we have in the CDBG grant money?
That money's handled through the Department of Housing and Economic.
I know where it's at. I said, how much of it do we have? Do commentary, do anybody know how much of that we have? Not talking about the freeze on the money, not talking about the money that's on hold, but how much of the CDBG grant money is available?
We had 1.1 million, Nicholas Cangemi, Mayor's Office. We had $1.1 million converted to demolition and stabilization funds of the $6 million that was frozen. I don't think, not that I'm aware of, we have not been given new numbers for 2019.
Because what I'm about to say, I know the administration is not really going to care for it, but I believe that the recreation and cultural, natural resources and cultural department should be ran out of that CDBG grant money. I believe that in order for us to be able to put this city back on the track that it needs to go, we need to take a bold step, take the recreation department and run it out of the CDBG grant money, alleviating that budget, making it a clear budget for the city and allowing that money to go back. I believe that we should take the CDBG grant money, run recreation, natural resources, and culture out of the CDBG grant money. That is where I think we should go
For
at.
next year, not for this year?
Well, we're already at the end, we're at the
Yeah,
end of
so
the year,
for
so
next
for
year.
the, I don't believe that we should, be trying to fund a department that the city can't afford when you have the CDBG grant money that nobody seemed to know how to draw down, didn't know how to draw it down. You got Arch here, this is his first time around in the CDBG with the housing and economic, where the money is at, but I think that money needs to go to run the recreations and natural resources. That's where I'm at with recreation.
We
And
would
I
have to
know
work
that
with-
is like a really, really bold step, but somebody's gonna have to fork over some money. And I think that CDBG grant money is the best way to go.
You
At
have
least
to-
we'll know where it's at. Some of it, at least, most of it. The department is saying 544 million, 6 million of our dollars are frozen, and plus you have some more money that is in that budget, in that CDBG grant budget. So you will be well over $6 million when that money clears, and the money that you have in that budget now.
So Art, just one second, Arch, you want to clarify, like, so the HUD, when
There's
we.
certain dollar amounts that you
Right.
can utilize for
Right.
recreation. And there's restrictions at CDBG, there's so much for public improvements, there's so much for summer programming, that is done with, and we maximize the dollar amount, for summer programming, out of CDBG.
No, let me just be clear. We have never maximized the dollars out of the CDBG grant money, or they would be frozen as of today. That is a clear point that we never did. And I know that you weren't here under that administration, but the money was never maxed out. So my suggestion is, how much of that money can be used for the recreation and natural resources under the sea? Because when I went to Washington, they said that a big percentage of that money could be used for community centers, recreation programs, things like that across the board. So I'm trying to determine how much of it can we substitute to Maria's department so that we can take that budget that we have, that we've been spending, this 544 plus the $4 million, $9 million, around about 10. How much of that money can we get out of SED?
So, Madam President, from Adam Cruz, Active Business Administrator. Madam President, Council, good evening. As Arch mentioned, there are certain requirements for more money that is earmarked for different various programs. And so, in order for us to be able to reallocate that funding, we would have to go back to HUD and see what, under what conditions, how much we can go back and reallocate to recreation.
You don't have to go back to HUD, it's already in writing.
But
You don't have to go back to HUD to see how much of the money you could allocate, because it's already in writing how much could be allocated. The writing is there. What I wanna know is just how much can we allocate?
Yeah, it's difficult to tell, Madam President.
It's already written from the federal government how much we can use, and what I'm asking you guys is, what is that number?
Yeah. I know that CDBG funding can be used for programming and for the recreation centers for the after-school program. However, we also have in the budget, some lines for interior and exterior improvements of historic buildings. And those allocated, CDBG we would not be able to use CDBG money for renovation of historic.
So how much of it, I know.
I
know
honestly
this
don't know
sort of
for
put you guys off
the
guard,
years.
but somebody should be able to at least tell me a roundabout figure, Mr. Liston.
I'm not prepared, I'm doing inspections this evening, and I have to go up and dig through documentation, and if I could possibly find it, there's certain allocations each year, that I'd have to see what was allocated for this year. And actually, with HUD being closed for the last 35 days, or whatever, we're kinda hung up to even getting monies approved, because they're just answering the phones as of today. So, I wouldn't have accurate information anyway.
Going into the budget, we're moving into the budget, but I'm just telling you guys that I want those numbers because I believe that we need to move from completely funding recreation to allowing some of that recreation monies to come out of that fund.
I mean, you could just say, does anyone have any questions, or if you have a handout?
This is just for the narrative. I have given to each one of the council members a document which is basically the titles of the projects that we are intending to complete with capital funding. Monies that were appropriated in 2016, outside funds that we have gotten, the request for the year 2019, and just what was requested in 2017 and 2018 that were never awarded for capital projects. And I include a narrative so that you have an idea of what it is imperative that we get funding for those projects.
Can I get an extra copy?
Sure.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I want to get it. It's just capital.
Yes, that's just capital.
So at the top, on your top line, you have 150,000 repairs for the exterior.
For the Trent House.
It says, I'm gonna be running the sentences together. It says critical work in the Trent House.
Yeah.
150,000. Is that for the Trent House or is that for the exterior of the city hall?
No, for the Trent House.
The Trent
For-
House is not voted out. The conference isn't voted out. What you say is it voted out?
No.
The 150,000 is for the exterior of Trent House.
I said when it's the first line says critical work on the Trent House, and then it has 150,000
Yes.
paid. And I'm asking you, is that for the Trent House or is that for the exterior of the city hall? Because it's running all in it together.
No, that's the 150,000. It's for Trent House. Then let me just make sure that you have a. I will have reference to it.
So right here it says work on the Trent House, 150K.
Yes, and then for this is 400,000 for City Hall front steps inside and the back plaza.
Right, okay, so the other piece that I was getting to was right down under that, you had the Trent House for 350,000 interior and exterior.
Oh, yes,
And the top
because-
line says exterior, so
Yes,
I'm
that's
just-
correct. That is just for the facade. but we have a lot more work that needs to be done inside the Trent House. This year we celebrate the 300th anniversary of the Trent House, and it's really in very bad shape. We haven't been able to do much work for the last 8 years there, and luckily we have very good partners with the Trent House Association. They have been able to.
Okay, so Maria, while you're here, could you just explain why it's two separate lines, 150,000 for the exterior, and then you down here is
It should-
350,000
Yes,
for
that
the
should be
interior
200,000.
and exterior.
I'm sorry, I apologize for that. It should be 200,000 just for
200.
the interior, yes.
The correction should be
Yes, no, that,
250 or 200.
it should be 200 for the interior.
Okay.
Question, Madam President?
Yes, ma'am.
Maria,
Yes.
okay, I'm just looking at the totals. So can you just quickly, if you can, across the top, the titles. So you have, the outside funds, you have appropriation of prior appropriation 2016, right? Total of 1 million,
In the first,
right?
100,000.
No, I'm talking about this overall total before we
Ah,
go
okay, yes.
outside the line item detail at the
Okay.
bottom, right?
Oh,
The
yes,
very
yes.
total? So you have, prior appropriation 2016 is 1 million. We only received 1 million in 2016?
Yes,
Is that what that
that's
means?
correct.
And then outside funds this year, is this what is expected or
No,
anticipated,
this-
17.4 million?
No, this was, the $150,000 that we have in the first line, in outside funds, that was a match that we received from, NJHT, the Historic Trust,
Mm-hmm.
for historic renovations.
And now you go to line item number 5, you have, 3 million, Green Acres 10 million, ACOE 3.2 million.
Yes.
DEP, so that is a grand total of outside funds of 17.4 million?
That's correct. We have
Okay.
gotten that money, in the last, 7 years from DEP and Green Acres.
Okay.
And those are monies that have been, invested in, Hexel
Okay,
pool and other facilities.
okay, so how much it's all invested or?
We still have, let's see, in the first
So-
page, we have about $2 million
All right, so,
unexpended capital, but those are matching funds. Although we
Okay.
haven't spent those funds, they are matching funds for projects with, DEP, Green Acres and DEP.
okay. So and you're requesting for current year 2019, 4.4 million.
Correct. And just to compare what we really requesting and what is the average of what the national average expenditures and operating expenses for parks and recreation. According to the the National Recreation and Parks Association, an average city would spend $78 per resident in parks and recreation. That would be approximately 6.5 million just in operating expenditures. The national average indicates that we have park system and recreation systems, we have 7.9 employees for each 10,000 residents. We have approximately 85,000 residents. We only have 9 full-time employees in parks and recreation. And so although it looks like a big number, reality is that.
Right, so I'm trying to
Yes.
understand this. Okay, like we have the grants that come in for the recreation department, right? The different grants, just like we just got that $1 million grant from DCA,
Yes.
and we get throughout the year, you get a lot of grants, and some of them have to be matched, and some of them don't. That brings me back to my question about how this department can be funded differently. If we're getting grants and other entitlements from different agencies along with the HUD monies, why can't we come up with a way to fund this department without coming out of the capital budget if the funds, if we're getting other monies from different agencies and with HUD? I'm just trying to figure out a way here, things that everybody else is trying to go the easy route. What is the best way that the recreation department can be funded using the HUD money and the grant monies?
I can tell you, Madam Councilwoman, in moving forward, I foresee 2020, 2021 as years where we can really go out and get and secure grants for parks, specifically for natural resources. But I have to say, since 2010, the city lost the ability to apply for grants with DEP when it comes to parks because the city didn't get the necessary certifications to manage the trees throughout the city. It was in November of this last year that we secured that the city is able, in moving forward, to apply for grants for DEP. The city didn't have the urban management certification for the last 8 years, which put the city under a considerable liability because that is the only, having that certification is the only way that the city is actually protected by the state. But we didn't have it until November that we actually secured the credits to be able to get the certification. And at the beginning of the year, we submitted the management plan for 5 years to the state. So now we are back on track for that. But we were not able to get any additional monies for this year. Luckily, DEP and Green Acres have continued to provide the city with monies to complete certain projects, but that was going to be the end of that. So now we are again certified to be able to apply for new grants. However, that's not going to be good for this year.
And so with the Eagle Tavern, where do we stand with that? Or had they been looking, because there was a conversation going around about an investor wanting to take the Eagles Tavern off of our hands. And I see that we're spending $120,000 for that. Where do we stand at with that Eagles Tavern?
Well, the Eagles Tavern needs to be stabilized. It's a historic asset, and the city can only lease it. However, I would love to take all of you to see the Eagle Tavern as it is right now. It's a lot of different things that need to happen before anybody would be interested in getting the Eagle Tavern. There is no parking for the Eagle Tavern, and it needs to be stabilized. The last time that we did anything in the Eagle Tavern was about 15 years ago, and the building has been vacant. We all know what happened with the facility that is as old as that, having been closed for so many years. And even 15 years ago, the renovations that the city performed were not enough to have the place completely renovated. So it's not in good shape.
Great question, President McBride. The question I have is, what is the vision for the Eagle Tavern? Because my concern is that we keep pouring hundreds of thousands of dollars into this building with no end goal in mind. So I would be curious to know how much money have we spent over the last 15 years on this particular building, and what is the timetable and the goal for us pouring this significant amount of money into a building with no kind of exit strategy?
Well, the strategy right now would be to stabilize the building so that the building doesn't completely collapse.
Well, no, I'm talking about
And-
not just the immediate, I'm talking about the long term. So are we
Yes,
looking
I will-
to rent it? Are we looking, can we sell it in any way? I mean, I guess the best way to do it would be just to sell it. And what is, I want to hear. Oh,
Building has
So let me finish, because I'm not finished my question, and so I would appreciate the administration answer my question, not fellow council members, because that's who I'm talking to. The question that I have is, we have a lot of historic buildings in the city of Trenton that we have sold, that we give away, whatever. What I'm saying is, the city of Trenton should not be in the business of being a landlord. In a perfect world, we would sell this building to a private developer and they would be generating property taxes. I mean, I think in a perfect world. And so can you tell me what exactly is stopping us from selling this property other than its historical status or designation? Because I'm not sure that because it's a historical building, that would stop us from selling it.
Actually, it's a historic landmark and we are not allowed to sell it.
Where we're
So-
not able at all?
No, we are not allowed to sell it. We could lease it. We could have a long-term lease. I remember several years ago, the city was entertaining different individuals who were interested in leasing the building. However, those individuals wanted the city to complete the renovations. At that point, and I am talking about 15 years ago, probably more. So to your first question, how much money the city has spent in Eagles in the last 15 years, I would say zero. But the long term is to stabilize the building and try to get investors in leasing the building. It's a fabulous facility, and I think that the city should be leveraging the historic assets that we have for economic development. That is a conversation that we are having at the present time, and Eagles should be part of it.
Because if you look at the fact that we're talking about 15 years and it's sitting and it has great potential, you know, the entire historical piece of our city is not being marketed as it should. And that is why I feel as though it is very important to get a director in the Housing and Economic Department. But for 15 years, it's just been sitting there. And so when we, under this administration, we should make every effort that we can to come up with the end game for the facility, because, you know, I do know that it needs to be stabilized. I hear you loud and clear. But I did sit in the middle of a conversation with someone that was interested in going into that Eagles Tavern and getting it functioning again so it could be a viable business down at the league. And I'm sure the mayor had a conversation in reference to that Eagles Tavern too. So I just think that it would be best for the entire city if we know what the long-term plan is for that Eagles Tavern, because you don't want to 10 years from now saying, hey, this building has been sitting here for 25 years and it's not adding up. Especially for a city as strapped for cash as we are, it makes no sense that we're not getting the bang for our buck in these historical buildings.
And President Brad, just to wrap up this line of questioning around the Eagle Tavern, I'm just concerned that, you know, we are investing in a building without a viable long-term strategy, and that, you know, the fact of the matter is, it's going to take a lot more than the initial $150,000 to bring it to took hold and to bring it to life. And so I would feel more comfortable seeing the long-term plan and seeing, like, when exactly do we expect our investments to pay dividends. And, you know, right now, it just seems like, 15 years ago, we poured money into it. What was the benefit of that investment over the last 15 years? None. And then we're going to make an additional substantial expenditure, and with a city that is in need, desperate need of improvements of our public properties, that $150,000, there's a lot better immediate uses that would have immediate dividends than investing in a building that we don't know what's going to happen to it. We don't know the long-term plan. And so, I know we have community centers that could stand to be enhanced. We have parks that could stand to be enhanced. And I would just, caution that it would be a luxury to enhance the Eagle Tavern. And I think we're not in a position as a city with all of our present issues to invest in a building with, that seems to me to be a money pit without a way to change it. So it's just my 2 pence, and I look forward to seeing the outcomes and the investment projections of our capital improvement projects in our city. Thank you.
Okay, so we want to go right down to the HVAC systems. So, there was a contract on the table for the HVAC system that we withdrew. So, it says that there is an ongoing need to repair and replace our outdated system. So, are we using the same company that we tabled?
This
I'm
is her
sorry.
handout.
No, I am,
I don't have it.
no, because we are not, since we don't have the money yet in the budget, we are not going out to bid for.
This is just something that you need.
Yes, this is something that we need. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to plan this, but I really would love for you to visit these facilities. Ellerslie Museum, for example, right now we have a serious problem with mold. That is even some of the volunteers don't want to go to the 3rd floor where we keep some of the collections because of the problem with the mold. Next week we are going to unfortunately have to call somebody to come and test the mold, and it's because of a failing air conditioner and heating system. Right now we have several portable dehumidifiers trying to protect the collections, but there is some serious work that needs to take place there.
Let me ask this question, Maria.
Sure.
Based on the museum and the other building over there. Back when Mayor Mack was the mayor and Paul Harris could speak to this, he had a lot of work done over there in that house across from
The cottage.
the cottage. There was no work done to the museum. This question is directly to Paul Harris, because you were on the staff at that time.
No.
There was none done to the museum.
Not that I'm aware of, no ma'am.
I can't hear you.
No ma'am, there was, not that I'm aware of. I know there was a lot done to the cottage, but no, not to the museum.
But if I can interject, even at the cottage, it was a lot of work that was completed there. It started during Palmer's administration, and it got completed during the first few months of Mack's administration. However, during that administration, they decided to turn the the heater off during the winter, and all the pipes burst. So that building, eventually, it needs help now, but we need to prioritize where to put the money. But the building is, I'm referring to the cottage, it's a mess, and the city spends about $500,000 in renovating it in
I
2010.
remember the money that they spent on that, that's why I was asking, did they spend any money on the museum at the same time? And so you're telling me that the building, the pipes froze, and now all the work that they put in and all the money that was put into that building was useless.
Yes.
I would say somebody needs to go to jail, but it happened.
So, we're having the same problems with the heater and air conditioner system at the Mill Hill Playhouse and at the Douglas House. Yes.
And so with the Mill Hill Playhouse and the Douglas House just got set back. I thought we just renovated that completely. Cause
Yes.
we just had a grand opening for the Douglas House.
The second floor,
The second
yes.
floor. Well, so we can't get grants to help us with these historic buildings?
We are trying to get grants. We are writing different grants. Unfortunately, until we get them, we cannot budget them. And many of these historic trust grants and that sort of grants, they work more with the programming in those buildings and that sort of things. Sometimes we are able to get capital money with them, but not all the time. Usually their grants are more for programming.
Council President, I think coming to the council hopefully within a month, you'll be getting the approval for the grants consultant that we went out for RFP for this very reason, to try to help the city find as much money as we possibly can.
And this is all the more reason why that the administration should be looking into replacing some of these things in recreation, because some of these things that's here in the recreation column, they are allowed by HUD for that money. And so, the other thing is that although we get a certain amount from HUD, but if our house was in order, we could probably even boost that amount up that we get from HUD in the years to come, because the parks, they fall under HUD. The parks, I don't know about the renovation for the Trent House or anything historic, but I do know of all of the senior centers, the community centers, all of that falls under HUD. And so we should be trying to really take as much out of that recreation budget as we can and supplement it with the HUD funds.
Yes, just so that you know, Madam Councilwoman, for this, the money that I know that is available right now from CDBG, we are using some of the money for renovations at the Westward Community Center and also for North Clinton Community Center. Those lines are not included in this capital because already with the current contract with an engineer and architect firm, they already came back with estimates for those projects. So I got the soft go ahead and try to bid for those two projects. However, I understand that some of that money is also being used for renovations at the Bridge Library and renovations at some of the senior centers. But I know that as pertains to recreation, we have two projects with that CDBG money. One is to renovate the bathrooms at the West Ward. The architect gave us a broad scope of renovations that needed to happen there, but the priorities were to change the floors in the gym and to renovate the bathrooms, the girls and boys bathrooms. And we are improving the locker room to convert it into a computer lab for the kids, because we really have a limited use for the locker rooms. And at the North Clinton Center, we secured $1 million in funding for programming there, but the building is in very bad shape. So with CDBG money, we are going to do the renovations for that center.
So the Northmore Community Center is not in very bad shape, because I've been in it. We've invested money in there in repairs. You're telling me it's now in very bad shape again?
I know that it was recently, I'm sorry, I'm looking in my phone, the report from the engineer. They, in 2015, according to Kim Potter, the roof was changed. The air conditioner and heater system is working, but they didn't change anything in the exterior, and the facade is basically falling.
They put a new door, new security. They did a lot of work down there, because, you know, that's a polling place.
Yes.
And it was uninhabitable habitable prior to them doing work several years ago that we, you know, the poll workers just couldn't stay there. But they did this time, because they did serious work inside and outside. They changed, they've got a door around the side, handicap door, and they have a security system in there, so.
The
I
security
don't know the
system is
last-
not working. The ceilings, at the beginning, the engineer firm said that the roof needed to be replaced because they see a lot of signs of leakage in the
My understanding,
in
they
the
put a new
ceiling,
roof on there, so-
but public property was able to provide certificates that they changed the roof in 2015.
Mhm.
So the engineering company went back and verified that the roof is in very good shape, but the company who did the work didn't do the renovation, the interior renovation. So the ceiling looked like there is a leakage problem, but apparently not.
So we
But
have a
they
name
need
of that company?
renovation. I'm
We
sorry?
can't hold that company accountable for the
Uh,
work they did?
They, apparently they were paid to replace the roof, not to do interior renovation.
Okay, now, I'm back at number 4 on the soccer fields. Now, you want to restock the soccer fields, and I don't have a problem with that, but I wanted to know, because we were renting Father Rocco's soccer field out, was that from people that weren't residents of the city that we were renting that soccer field out to?
Well, to my knowledge, we rent the fields to local groups. In the past year, I came to work for the city in September. I was able to rent out the fields just at the end of the season. And those organizations, we ask them to line the fields and that sort of things, because we don't have the manpower to do it. However, resorting the fields, it has to be us. We cannot tax the organizations with doing.
No, I'm not saying ask them, I wanted to know where the
If
money,
they are,
where the money was going that they were paying the city to rent the field. Because we have, like, the leagues, the summer leagues now, they all have to pay for their leagues. Where does that money go? Does it go back into the capital fund? Where does that money go?
it
that
goes
we
into
put-
operations budget.
Because we have the permits that have to be taken out for the use of all the parks. All of the summer leagues now, they have to pay. So where does that money go? The pools have been privatized. They don't belong to the city. We lease them out. Someone else is running those, aren't they?
They basically, for lack of a better word, they We own the pools.
But I'm not
Those are-
understanding this, but they charge the children to get in the pools now? They were charging at one
Not to my
point?
knowledge. No. Honestly, the city charges just a little bit of money for the use of the facilities. For the use of a park, we charge somewhere between $20, well, from $0 to $70. And that is nothing. For the use of the soccer, the athletic facilities, it's a little bit more because we charge per team. But if a league has 3 teams, that is $450 for the whole season. And in the past, if somebody came to request a permit to use one of the parks on Mondays, Tuesdays, Fridays, in March, April, September, and December, we will charge one fee, $20, let's say. So when I came in September, I said, no, we charge for, if you're going to use the park 20 days, you need 20 permits. So you need to pay for that in order for the city to recover some of the money that we invest in the parks and the facilities. And so people have been, it's still just a little bit of money, but we need to educate people that not everything is free.
It's not so much the fees to use the park that's expensive, it's the cost of the security guards that is expensive.
Correct.
And the
And the insurance.
yeah, and the system that we have where people have to hire security guards in the city when they can actually bring in security. Because even when I had something in the park in the North Ward, I had to pay for security, I had to pay for
Yes.
insurance, and I had to pay park fees.
Correct.
And it gets to be pretty expensive.
Yes, but unfortunately, we need to be that secure that people are safe in the
So we
parks.
need to train our security guards on what they're actually supposed to do when they go to those parks instead of hanging around a tree smoking and talking all day long.
I agree
And
with
somebody
you.
has to pay a lot of money for them. Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
So we're gonna, if nobody else sees anything, I see, number 11 down at the, 2019, funds will be used to purchase a bucket truck lift and the, F-350 truck and snow removal, 120 and a backhoe.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Number 11.
Uh-huh.
The 2019 funds will be used to purchase a bucket truck lift line and $145,000, and then a snow removal equipment for $120,000.
Yes, we had one bucket truck, which is like 30 years old. And our second one was involved in an accident. Do you remember when was that? I wasn't here at the time. I think it was like June last year. So the second one got totally destroyed. It flipped over on Route 29. And so we only have one bucket truck that it's spent a lot of time in the shop getting repairs. So we need a bucket truck to continue to be able to maintain the trees. If you see, we have a serious problem with the trees in
We
this
haven't
city.
had any trees maintained in this city in about 10 years.
Exactly, and to make it worse, we have a problem with the emerald ash borer, which it's destroying it's killing the trees in the city, and within the next 2 years, probably 30-40% of the trees in the city are gonna die. So we are in a serious, situation with that.
Just, I don't know what's funny, Councilwoman, but this is like really dark. I mean, in 10 years, we haven't had any pruning on Stuyvesant Avenue. The trees literally block the light, and you cannot go down Stuyvesant
Yes.
Avenue in the fall past 5 o'clock. And Councilman Michelle had PSE&G come out. I was talking to the mayor and Yoshi. He had PSE&G come out, go down Stuyvesant Avenue in that from Prospect up to Park side and put lights in. And he had them also do that on the boulevard in one section. So the mayor said that he had met with PS&G to get some more lighting done. But the point that I'm trying to make is that the trees has not been attended to in so long that they literally come over the street, block the lighting out, and it is pitch black down Stuyvesant and down MLK Boulevard. 10 years here, you know, and they just keep saying we have one tree trimmer. That's outrageous, and you know.
And you are correct. We have only one crew for maintaining the trees. We are requesting one additional person because we have 3 tree climbers, but that is just one team. So if we get one extra person, we will have 2 teams, because we can put them 2
But see,
in
this
the
is, see, the problem that I'm having is, like, earlier in the year, they said that they found some money over for the, they identified there was some money that was coming into the city, and they didn't know that it was coming in, and the Health and Human Services Department looked it up, and it was there. It was for some, beautiful, keeping the city beautiful or something to that effect.
Excuse me, sorry.
Ms. Vaughn, do you know the money that they had said they found, and they said we're gonna use it for, they were trying to figure out how they were gonna use it, but Shakira was like, we'll use it for, maybe we can use it to identify some of the homeless people.
Oh,
And
I think I know what you're talking about.
and
It's,
but the money could be used to help keep the city
it's a street, it's, I think it was $300,000, it's, Clean Streets.
clean streets.
Clean
And so she was saying, well, you know, I wanna put the money toward the homeless, but if you got trees that haven't been pruned in 10 years and you locate $300,000,
Right.
it seems to me that it's a no-brainer.
I think it was a discussion either doing that or, which is the other issue, which is street sweeping. That money can be used to lease and hire more street sweeping for the city. Again, what that money can be utilized is, again, it's limited by the grant, and the state determines what you can use it for.
Right, but it's.
So I believe under the provisions that it would be for street sweeping is one of the main provisions of it.
Yeah, if I may, because I believe about a year ago I had suggested perhaps we need to do an RFP and bring in a professional company just to at least do our main thoroughfares in our city and get these streets, and if
Absolutely.
anybody.
That's what we did. We actually met with the League of Municipalities with a company that's been doing that in Newark.
Okay.
And again, they are the ones just as even told us about the same thing, about the streets, that Newark uses that Clean Streets money to do this sort of lease and sort of training program that they then run on then being able to do more street sweeping for the city. So absolutely, you're absolutely right, that is something that we're looking at.
And then while we're on this subject, I'm just gonna say this and we can move right on. You know, it appears to me that we have a lot of our employees that are not trained up
Right.
to par. The emergency, leak that was at number 42 on Laurel Place, and I had to call in, Councilman Michelle to get some help over there. Well, the city workers came, and then we had to get, an emergency crew out. And, you know, I'm just saying, there has to be some type of training for our employees, because we're spending a lot of money going out, and we have, employees here that they don't have the necessary skills that they need to get their job done. That's not fair to them, and it's not fair to the residents because the taxes is sky high here. I mean, some of the highest taxes in the tri-state area is right here in the state of New Jersey, and Trenton is not far behind Lawrence and Ewing, and we're just not getting services. So I'm saying that we need to step up our training for these employees because we don't need to keep having to go out with these emergency bids when we have staff that should be trained to do these jobs. I just wanted to throw that in there. I know it has nothing to do with
But
what
that's a consideration for, as we put together for next year's budget, because that's something that after this is done, we want to get right in to start working on. As putting a component of that is a training budget for each department to be able to, again, bring in experts to help do retraining. I know that the Clean Streets, again, that was one of the things that we worked on with the street sweeping company. They said they would come and train our employees on better practices on how to utilize equipment better. That's sometimes what we find too. We may buy some nice equipment, then our employees tend to not know how to use it correctly, and then we end up having to buy a new one in a couple of years because it's been damaged.
And to the same point, I'm sorry. To the same point, for this urban management plan that we had to submit recently, we have to submit a 5-year training plan for the park staff. That is mandatory for the municipalities. However, because we didn't have the certification, we lost the certification, we were not training the staff. But once we get the certification, they need to go back to be trained. Every year, there is a certain amount of credit that each employee that works for tree maintenance has to meet.
All right, President Bride, I have a question. This is for the, well, not a question, more of a request for the administration. So when we receive the capital budget and request for capital improvement projects, I'd like to have a kind of a greater breakdown of the actual projects, the location, and the timeline of when they are expected to be complete, divided by ward. So when I go into communities for community meetings, I can inform them of various city projects that are being completed. And so this is nice, but I'd really like a document that has greater detail as well as a timeline. And this is not just for this department, but for all department capital budget projects.
And we're working on putting together a revised capital budget for all the departments. And part of that is, again, having a bigger narrative, exactly what you're saying. Those are the additional ones we can add on to. But we're also going to put in and sort of break it down by what ones that are, like the police need to refresh their cars, like the mandatory ones. And then the ones that are more, okay, here's ones that they're optional, and then they can put them in order of priority. Again, so the fire department say, okay, we need to do this one replacement. It's not necessary, but for us, that's our number one priority. And now if there's enough capital, if the city wants to, here's our number 4 to do this. Like our bathrooms need to be replaced.
And so I think that's a great idea,
Yeah.
but if you can give me a document
That's the
of projects that are approved,
from
set in
from the past, like we have our capital. How long far back did it? That was like 7 years.
Well, yeah, I mean, each group is different. There's still,
Yeah,
and some
we
of
have
it's
a lot.
could be,
We have-
there's a lot
Yeah, I
of
mean, I just
cleanup
want to
on
make
it,
sure
too.
that we are
Yeah,
sharing.
well, like, I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
we have a-
yeah, I mean, it could go back, at least 12 years, some of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I mean, the thing
Some,
is,
and then some of it's gotta just get written off.
We
yeah,
have a lot of
exactly. I
them
mean, the
coming
ones
up.
that are happening, because I know I have residents that are saying, hey, this park is jacked up, and it would be nice to tell them, it's on the list,
Gotcha.
being taken care of, this is the timeline.
This right here did a
Yeah, there is a list of,
explaining that.
Oh, no, well,
Because she broke down
Yeah.
the North Trenton Little League batting cage.
Well,
I mean, you want something a little bit more detailed, but I'm just saying.
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna do something for the entire.
Oh, no,
We're gonna do something like this for all of
This
them.
is good, but I think I would want something even better, and I think, I expect the best from the people. I think my request is not, exceedingly complicated, and,
We had already been working on that, so absolutely, as part of the capital, we wanted to make sure there was a narrative as an explanation, so that when you're seeing if there's like someone tries to buy a Caterpillar, I mean, unless you know what that is, like it's a, type of machine.
yeah.
Again, explain what it is and what the purpose is and what the city would be using it for. Again, that's what we're trying to look for from when we're going through a capital and it's being proposed to you guys.
This is for the administration and Mr. Liston. So we have a director here, right? And a lot of her budget review is based on, that she has a dependency on the administration overall strategy, right? So we have the 250 plan, right? Mr. Liston, we have the 250 plan. And this plan has been, presented at all levels of government, right? You guys took the 250 plan to the county, you took it to Liz Moya, when you guys met with her on the executive order that the governor had put forward to help Trenton, right? So all of these state agencies that have money, DEP gave us the Clean Cities, the Green, the $300,000 that Shakir, Director Abdul Ali has. So around the whole 250 plan and strategy for the city, particularly in Maria's case here, and the landmarks. So what is the strategy in the 250 plan for these landmark buildings that we have in Trenton, so Maria can better, plan her spending, right? So are we, to Darrell's point, what are you gonna do with all these landmarks? What is the overall plan so that we can effectively plan, the spend of our money? So this 250 plan, or the overall strategy that the administration has, what are you guys communicating to, the state under the executive order and the different, what our requirements are? We should have some of those inputs, right? So, I don't think Maria should, if I were running the department, I would want to know, okay, yeah, I have an inventory of landmarks. And Mr. Mayor, administration, please tell me, economic development, Mr. Linton, please tell me what is the strategy for all of these buildings, strategically. I know, I read the 250 plan. There is a section for every single department here, for our parks, for our vacant property. So how is that fitting in here, Mr. Manali?
The 250 plan is a very broad tool, very broad, that needs to be basically dissected by area. So my budget, my capital budget is, or my request for capital budget for my departments is based basically in a 5-year plan that I developed with the help of others in the administration, basically from the 250 plan, but making it realistic. The
No,
200.
I understand that you have to do an annual assessment, but overall, your annual assessment should be cumulative over time,
Absolutely.
which it should hit the overall 5-year, 10-year, 15 plan that is defined in the 250 plan.
The 250 plan is basically your planning document in the big picture. And we would have to go through each and set goals and go through the period. Many times in your planning document, you're not getting into specifics of timelines and financing and so forth. You're just saying, we need to improve the parks and improve recreation and stuff like that. So they're not addressed specifically to a budget line item. It's general in nature at best.
No, I'm just saying, the 250 plan supposed to at least outline a strategy overall. Yes, it does. And I believe, go ahead.
Can I,
Yeah.
Nicholas, Mayor's office. So just in the same way that the downtown plan, it discusses a strategy for how you're supposed to go about collaborating and gaining that information. It doesn't go into the specific details of what each street corner should look like. It doesn't go into the details of how the setback should be on the building. What it requires is another step. CCRC is now doing a zoomed-in version of our downtown plan. They recognize, okay, this 250 plan called for a really focused plan just in the downtown area. We're going to fill that need. I think in the same way, the 250 plan created a how to manage, how to get community input for running landmarks. It needs that zoomed-in plan. So it will require additional funds being put towards creating a plan, but this is exactly what Maria's been talking about with her 5-year plan. This can be adopted into the 250 plan, essentially, if it meets the requirements that are laid out.
But we're using that 250 plan to communicate to the various state agencies, potentially, so they can have an insight, so they can support, potentially can provide us funding, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
So, I'm just saying, so if you're out there and you're talking to DEP, all the sources that Maria has here, that she's looking to perhaps, solicit for grants, for funding, blah, blah, blah. So, shouldn't we all understand what the strategy is and what the investment is going to be long-term for saving particular landmark, if at all?
Yes, I understand your question. Yes, for example, we have a master plan for Kawalata Park. For example, the master plan for Kawalata Park, it's over $20 million, and so, that's 4 times, 5 times the budget that we are talking for the whole department now. So,
But
the
that $20
strategy,
million is going to be spent over time.
absolutely.
Right.
And
So
the
what-
strategy for Kawalata Park is basically work with the Kawalata Park Alliance and other groups to help us raise the money, because it's going to be hard. I'm not trying to be.
No, I'm just.
We are in a position right now that we need to build credibility with our funding sources. We lost a lot of money in funding and grant money. So right now, part of our strategy is to place ourselves in a position that federal government, state stakeholders are going to be able to trust us with money. And so, for example, with Kawalata Park, we don't have an agency that we can go to and ask for $20 to complete the master plan for Kawalata Park. So, like you said, it needs to be gradual. We are, part of our strategy right now is to apply for
But I'm going to give you a
little
perfect example.
money.
I'm going to give you a perfect example, Maria,
Yes.
right? A strategy says that I'm Parks and Recreation Director. Over the short term, Ms. McBride talked about the soccer field. Based on our demographic here in the city of Trenton, as it changes, it may become our population and demographic would say, you know what? We're not going to spend any more money on basketball courts anymore, because the demographic shows that we're getting a community that's coming from Latin America, and they're more interested in soccer fields.
Correct.
So therefore, the mayor will say, based on the strategy plan, I'm not investing in any more soccer fields. So Maria, whatever money you got here in this budget, take that off, because we're going to allocate it to. We're not doing basketball anymore because the population appetite is not there, the demographic is not there, there's no interest for it. So we're going to now allocate it to a soccer field.
And you're
So
absolutely
this is what I
correct.
mean about strategy. So when you're talking about strategy, we should be looking at the 250 plan and what the needs and requirements for Trentonians are. It's like the same thing with the trees and the parks. There are maybe some parks that we may have to, maybe in certain neighborhoods, it's all elderly people, and they don't really use the parks anymore. So maybe those areas we don't spend a lot of money in parks. I don't know. I'm just saying examples. When you look at strategy, we need these inputs so we can better understand where to allocate the funding and when not to, based on the need of our communities. Needs change every year. They have to be reassessed. So I believe, or I'm thinking, that this is why you guys come to these meetings, right, Mr. Cruz, right, Mr. Manali, and Mr. Linston? These are strategy inputs that you guys should be providing here so we can better understand how to allocate this money. We're not going to be spending in places that are no longer are obsolete, no longer required. There's not an appetite or interest in our community to do so.
But right now, I believe.
And I just need those inputs.
Yeah, so right now, Madam President, you were gonna say something, I'm sorry.
Do you understand?
Yes,
Um,
yes.
Madam President, so one of the things that we are doing is actually, yes, allowing the directors to make decisions as to where the money should be allocated. In the coming years, you will see more of that, because some of us are actually new in the administration in the town. There is definitely knowledge that we can carry on to, to continue moving the city forward, but as we continue to own our departments, you will see more reflection as to what the aim of this administration is.
Councilwoman Caldwell. Okay, Councilman Michelle, and then you, Mr. Santoro.
I heard the streets to be cleaned. We have, I believe, 5 street sweepers. What good is buying brand new equipment when nobody maintains it? We don't have a mechanic to maintain it. I asked for a service plan. When the workers destroy the equipment, they have to be accountable and responsible. They're $250,000 for a street sweeper. They put programs in to learn how to fix the problems on the street sweepers. Only one person went down there to learn it. What good's buying all this equipment and nobody supervising the men how to use it and going out and making sure the job is done? Same with the tree division. We do have a new truck. It's 4 years old. It was $250,000. The council before we paid for that truck. The other old truck is the one that flipped over. From the best of my knowledge, we've been short one man to fill a 2-man truck, so we have 2 men out there. Nobody is filling this position. Why? Why? Nobody's doing it. We're buying all these toys, bells and whistles, and there's nobody out there maintaining anything. We're spending the money on all these buildings, and we have nobody going back and checking them and maintaining these buildings. The police station, 50 years old, it's destroyed. Why? Nobody maintains anything. We're spending money day in and day out. We lost contracts, Diamond Construction. They put all the handicap in wrong in the city of Trenton. We took them to court. We stopped payment on it. We lost it. We had to pay them. Why? Because we had nobody there when they poured the concrete. So we had to pay the contract that was no good. We're getting beat. We're spending all this money and there's nobody there. There's no accountability. The mayor said, George, you take over and do different things with maintenance on the cars. Well, give me carte blanche. I'll do it. Because nobody else is doing it. The police cars don't change their oil for 15, 20,000 miles. We're spending the money and buying new cars, and they're destroyed. Everything's destroyed. What are we doing here? We're spending money. All these grants, all this money is coming in. It's going out the door. It's a crime. I listened to this going back and forth with all these repairs we're doing. We're spending the money. We're spending the money. And nothing's being done. Nothing's being accomplished because the time you got it done, the next project already was destroyed. Down the river, same thing down the river.
One of the things that we are working on is doing a fleet maintenance program and also going to an RFP to do a management program. I think you're absolutely right. That's one of the things that's been missing in the city. It costs us hundreds of thousands, if not more than that, in just maintenance costs because we're not maintaining the buildings or the fleet correctly. We don't have an accurate accounting of where all our fleet has been for the past, which is what we're being putting together, and that's something that you requested.
Well, I'm requesting because these cars are taken
And you're
out of the
absolutely
state.
right.
Out of the state. They take the emblems off. City of Trenton emblems are taken off. They're going shopping in the cars. They're spending all this money on these cars. Now, I was told, because I'm catching them destroying cars, George, you prosecute them. Why should I prosecute them? The mayor told me to go to the prosecutor's office. You're the mayor. Bring him in. If you got to put him on charges, charge him. This is insane. Insane that I have to do this. A retired cop for 40 years, that I got to bring in these people because they're destroying our property. They're destroying our property. A brand new street sweeper, $250,000. 1 week old, and they ripped the roof off of it, and it cost us $45,000. No charges put on a guy. Driving it with no oil, blew the motor. No charges on a guy. Why? Why? Why ain't we doing this? I just like to see answers. I sit back here and listen to this going on, and it's nothing but all BS. Nobody's doing nothing. We're getting the money, we're getting the grants, we're getting everything. You'll never clean up a city. Never clean up a city. Our city is filthy dirty. We got 5 street sweepers. Put them out there and start cleaning it up. We had it for the midnight tour. I set it up. I showed them how to do it. They drove it down there. It was great. Downtown was clean. It started 11 to 8. Downtown area, the State House, everything's clean. Everything's clean. All of a sudden, they don't want to work. They don't want to go out there. So it stopped.
And you're absolutely right. About the company that sold us the $250,000, they said that they would come and help do more training of some of the other personnel, because they said exactly what you said. There's only one person. They said they would be more than willing to train more people.
They drained the oil out of one of them. They had to heat the bottom of the vehicle because it was worse than molasses. It wasn't changed. Nothing was changed. Them vehicles are only 4 years old. We got $500,000 there, and you got a mechanic that has no clue how to do anything.
And that's part of why we were looking to get a management company or some sort of program, so that we'll have a full list, that we'll be able to know, so there'll be routine maintenance. Somebody will be able to say, okay, here's this one is 6 months in or a year in, needs to go in. Here's all the different. We want to go into RFPs for auto body and auto repair. Again, to make sure that we have better pricing. So we're not price gouged on change orders, which is obviously a big issue. You take in for an oil change, and all of a sudden there's like another $2,000 added onto it.
I didn't have a problem. When I was mayor, I did not have a problem. I set it up with 2 independent places. They took our vehicles, they rotated the tires, changed the oil. We got a bill at the end of the month. I went over the bill was paid. We didn't have a problem for the time I was mayor here. I don't see it. I see nothing but chaos in here, and nothing's being done. You know, for the mayor to say, George, take it over. Take it over. I'm a councilman. I can't come in there and say, look, I'm going to take the shop over. I can't understand. Everybody wants to be a director. Everybody wants to get big pay, and everybody's standing there. I mean, this is mind-boggling to hear everything with all the money's going out the door. Comes in and goes out. Look at the city. Look at the city. Nobody's going to come into this city being filthy, rotten, dirty. And it's dirty, and it don't have to be. We can go down to Newark. We can go down any one of them areas. They'll take us down there and show you what it used to be and what it is now. These street sweepers are on there, and they work day in and day out. These guys turn around and you find them sleeping in the truck. You want to mark them up? Somebody mark. Who's responsible to mark these people up? Tell me. I really want to know, because the mayor told me, George, go to the prosecutor's office. I mean, tell me what to do over here. Otherwise, everybody here is wasting their time. We are wasting our time talking about cleaning up a city and spend the money, and nothing's being done. Just tell me what to do. I really want to know what to do. You want me to come to your office? I'll come to your office, we'll jump in my car, and we'll go out. And we'll start looking at what's going on. And because you are in command, you're second in command, you should be able to make decisions. You should be able to make decisions to say we're gonna do it. You don't have to go to the mayor.
This is administrator.
I'll make sure.
I mean, really, if you want me to help, I'll help. The trees
Absolutely.
can be cut down. I got a plan. I set up a plan, I laid a plan out. Nobody listens to the plan, and I'm in office 10 years, 10 years. And it's a disgrace what I see, because I can't get nothing done.
Well, I would suggest, Madam President, whenever any of the council members or anybody here sees that something improper is happening in the city, contact my office immediately. I will address it immediately.
I mean, I got plenty of it. But the thing is, how are we handling it? Are we putting these people on charges? Or are we gonna say, Councilman, go to the prosecutor's office like I was told?
So, my
Let's fire him. Let's get rid of
My
him.
message to you is reach out to me and it will be handled immediately.
I wanna see some action done. I'm done. Thank you.
Councilman Santiago.
I want to know about Hetzelfield. Last year, we had $2.some million for.
Well, we have the bonds, that's all part of the bonding. Is that part of the bonding in the capital
Which
budget?
point, what number is which number in the priorities
Yes, I
are
think
It
your?
says future projected projects include.
What page are you on, Santiago?
Where you at?
They start with a little number, the priority number,
What number?
4, right across.
four. Okay,
Number 4,
Yeah, 2019 projects.
where it says athletic complex.
oh, yes.
improvement.
We are talking here, projected projects. This is not included in this
Why is not included?
request. No, what we are talking here, let me just
Okay.
go back. Here we have a request in for 2019 of 800. Let me just go back a little bit. In this form that I gave you, I have listed 13 different priorities. Not all of those are included in the capital request. However, in number 4 specifically, we are talking about different improvements in the athletic complexes. One of those that you mentioned is future projected projects include renovated baseball fields at Hetzel, skate park at Amtico Square. This is part of a bigger and very ambitious project that we call as being Greenway. It's about 800 acres of linear park coming from the border in Hamilton all the way to the Delaware River. Amtico Square, with funding from DEP, from Green Acres, we have been acquiring some of those industrial areas there to convert everything in a large park. It's basically
But I don't want to cut you off, but when are we going to start fixing Hetzelfield? I know the swimming pool has been done, and I was told that right after the swimming pool, they're going to start with the park.
yes, for
The next phase.
2020.
Phase.
Yeah.
Yes,
But
for 2020, that would be the next phase for Hetzel
next
Field.
phase, I thought
The
it was
next phase.
this summer. No, that's what I was told.
Well, but the
But
summer is
most are
2000, yeah, in the summer we start with the 2020 budget. Hetzel pool will be finished by the second week in April, according to the change
But
order.
the money is already there, the bonus.
So we approved bonding
Yes,
for the Heswell Field project.
That's
for-
correct.
For, I guess, for phase 1, 2, and 3, and I thought that included the baseball field.
yes, but for 2020,
Okay.
for
So
2020.
the funding is there, yes. already
Yes,
on.
yes. That's for 2020 because this year, 2020, it's July 1st,
So-
basically.
So my question to you is, every department that comes here, because you already know that I want the recreation department funded as much of it as we can possibly get funded out of the HUD money, CDBG grant money, and then the rest of that department should be ran on grants. That is the way that that department should be ran, logically speaking. But how much of this $450,000, how much of this can $4,450,000, can you, use, and some of it, you can give back? Because every department that comes here, we want something back from you guys. I know Ms. Garrett told you that before you came, Maria, so how
Yes.
much are you willing to give us back here?
Absolutely. I am willing to give you back $500,000 that I just got in a grant from Mercer Play for park improvements. I just got a grant for $500,000 from Mercer County for park improvements. And so that could be used for,
So you can use that, you could supplement the money that we was giving you and with that 500,000 and give us that 500,000 back.
yes. But my request could be decreased by $500,000. I just got.
Wait,
No,
we're
just
talking the operating account.
Operating, not your.
Oh,
Not
you're
your
talking about
capital.
operating
Not your
account.
capital account.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't think, yeah, unless
Ooh,
that
I
grant is,
don't-
unless you have a
I-
grant that has.
Oh,
a-
my goodness, I am so sorry.
Excuse me.
I apologize.
You've been
Excuse me,
staying
I
in
was very
capital
clear.
mode
I
for
said,
the whole
Are
meeting.
you gonna give us some of our money back and substitute it with that? I knew you couldn't give us the grant money, so I'm asking,
Specific purpose, which is-
where are we at as far as give backs?
For operating budgets, I basically don't have anything. If we cut the operating budget for recreation and parks, it's, oof.
No.
I would not even know what to do.
Let's go to the HUD money and see if you can use some of that and give us some of this money back, is what that's what I said before we even got into this conversation. I don't know who was listening to me, who wasn't.
And the HUD money can be applied for salary and wage and that type of item? I don't know, usually the grant is very specific
So
about.
that's
Exactly.
something that we have to, so it,
Oh,
we
yeah,
have-
I mean-
so the money has to be reprogrammed.
Oh,
In order
okay.
for us to be able to reprogram that money, we have to send HUD, our recommendation to reprogram that money for those programs
That's
that
not
they
Okay,
have.
but that's more something that would be in the next fiscal year planning mode.
Probably
For
for the
example,
next fiscal year.
like,
Yeah.
You reprogram
under
it.
the federal guidelines, you can take and renovate certain parts under the HUD money. So if it's already written, you have to say to HUD, well, we wanna use this for parks when it's already written into the.
Yeah, it does, it's written for parks. And it's programmed that way, and it's approved by council and HUD, so that's what would be utilized for. But if you're gonna move it to salaries, or attempting to move it to salaries, you've gotta do an amendment, you've gotta get approval of HUD, and you gotta get approval of council.
Right, but you know what, and you know how they, send someone over from the water department, and then they send the money from the water department? And on those salaries that they have in recreation, some of those salaries can be supplemented through that CDBG grant money. And we all know this, so I'm saying, how much of it could be supplemented from the HUD money? That's the question that I asked you guys when we sat down.
Make sure we're in compliance with federal regulations.
Yeah, I'm not saying break no law, I said, I need to know the numbers.
What we're
Just
looking at
where,
now
I mean, that's part of the issue that we're trying to find, what happened in 2010 through 2012. The money was
Oh, I'm sorry.
allocated,
It's allocated
That's capital.
in a way, and that's why they.
was allocated in ways
Again, I
that
don't
wasn't supposed to be
receive
allocated.
that
That's why we
from-
got
The
frozen.
money
Yeah,
that
but,
was
but
frozen,
unfortunately, all of
it
us
was
are
frozen
losing, they're all
was
looking at
because they
that,
did
and
not
we don't have
know how
the
to
budget.
draw it down, period.
So
You
somebody
had someone in there that didn't know how to draw that money down, and so the money stayed there without a drawdown. And so I'm saying to you guys, for the recreation department, come next
Yeah,
budget,
just
I
each
wanna see
division,
a
here's
plan
recreation
to,
division,
Okay.
introduce, adopt, and
Absolutely,
variation.
yeah, you're absolutely right, I
to
understand what
move
you're
the
doing.
recreation budget
By
and the
site.
natural
Okay,
resource
so
center.
We will start working on that now.
So this will
But
give you,
for now,
if it's okay,
Marge,
for me to show you, this,
Mr. Garrett,
Yes.
please,
okay,
for now,
Council President.
I wanna know what Maria is gonna give back, because every department comes in front of us, we want something back. Ms. Garrett, you knew that before you came today.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
should have
I mean-
advised her, what is it gonna be?
Yeah, I mean, what I do systematically, you can see, okay, the cuts, the original requests were beyond what their scope anyway. But, right now, the budget, in total stands at $2,472,000. Salary and wage, $1,386,000. Of the $1,386,000 budget, if you go to the last page, I'm sorry, I don't know if I'm, what page numbered these. The second to the last page, similar to how I've done the other analyses, I'm looking at the time I prepared this, but it doesn't matter, at what point. they were 13 pays in, I came up with the estimate for pay. You can see for natural resources right now, their overtime, I guess, for the most part,
Where are we at on line
on
what?
the second to last page.
Second to last page,
that,
line
that
what?
projects out all the salary and wages, just to get everybody an
So
idea of
your
where.
salary and wages, you're on 101, gross wages?
Yes, yes. So for example, the division of director, right now there's 53,000 sitting in there. It's probably not gonna be anybody posted to that account. So those dollars, technically speaking, are available. Same thing on, in terms of the dollars that are available as of this printing. There's maybe a little excess sitting in there, about 182,720. Summer food, we really can't touch.
I'm on the page next to the last page
Yeah.
and I'm not
I'm
following.
gonna come over to here. Yeah, so what I do, if you can see, here's the budget, but they haven't spent anything. So there's 53,000 available there. In recreation, there's a projection of 361 and a budget of 543. It looks like she's has extra money there, probably due to not meeting hiring objectives. And then the same thing here, that's summer food, so I tend to, can't touch that one, because that's kids, it's a lot of kids get employed there. And then this, we're running a little under, so we're gonna probably need some of that money to cover this if we can't bring down the overtime, and these are negligible.
So where is it that we have the overtime at? Where's the overtime coming from?
Right now it's in natural resources, primarily related to, probably your understaffing. So people are working overtime?
Yes,
Similar
absolutely.
to
I
Public
only have
Works.
one tree maintenance crew, so they usually need to work overtime because there is only one crew.
Yeah. So, it's either you hire enough people or you're gonna potentially, the offset of that's gonna be overtime impact. So,
These two lines here is what you're looking at.
yeah, so this is basically gonna fund this to try to
Okay,
take
and so
care of
then
it.
you're only
And
working
so
out
we're
of
kind of
this.
working at about 182,000. You can see we've cut quite a bit out of it. On the OE side, I think let's see where the spending is right now. The overall spending right now, or at least when I prepared this in January, the budget is $1,435,000, and the spending right now, or at the time was, $1,085,000 was the budget, and they're about 60% through, or 549,000. Again, I've asked all the department heads to make sure that they're, yeah, I mean, we could talk, I'll present that to her now. Yeah. Okay.
Ms. Garrett,
Yes, I'm sorry.
would you go down with Maria down these line items to see where they could cut on these line items where they're, some of them they're not even using, the majority of what's being budgeted?
Okay, I will. I mean,
you've got, some of them I don't even know what they're called, recreation, agricultural, and animal supplies for recreation.
let me see, let me go to the grand total.
Or you have more than one page.
Well, it's,
I should have page numbered these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. On the page 5, which is the subtotal, all the sub-accounts that make up the recreation budget, in some cases, the spending versus the budget is $1,085,000, and right now the spending is 541,000. It's 5 pages, this is
13 out of
1,
26.
5,
2,
yeah.
3, 4, 5.
So, we could go down some of these line items, and I know it sounds like we're nickel and diming it, but we've gotta find money wherever we can. So you get advertising, travel, training, printing and binding, which is always
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah,
Huge budget.
the concern I have here, and I continue to push each department head, make sure you're, and I'm not saying we can't find it here, but just make sure you're processing your payables, so that we're not artificially looking at a budget versus actual that's not, that isn't a true indication of an underspending, an underspent, area.
President.
she's saying, hey, look at this and see if there's
I mean,
anything,
the-
so we can do that.
The
Yeah.
maintenance and other equipment, that has been increased substantially for 219. So has membership dues.
Well, the membership dues, okay. Let me look at the plan. The membership dues is, you know, in the 3,403. Spendings is about 1,140. I mean, some of the larger ones is kind of,
33% variance there, yeah.
yeah, you're really, always look at some of the larger items, obviously. Your 290, your professional services, she's about 61% there. Other expenses, I don't know if,
So explain to me this one, so I'm not sure, the maintenance of motor vehicles. And, you have the 15,986 introduced.
yeah, they're spending.
And then at the end, it's got 52,000, so there's a 330% difference. What is that all about?
That's you know, they must have, a lot of maintenance going on with these
Well,
vehicles
the
well
vehicles
over
are getting
budget.
older, so
Yeah.
they need more maintenance.
So, I mean, it really only matters what we're spending in total, we don't worry too much about each sub-account, but yes.
Okay, but Mrs. Garrett, you understand all of this.
Sure.
This is not very clear to a lot of us.
Okay, I'm
as
happy to go
how
over
this-
it.
How this, that's why I'm trying to figure out these numbers.
Okay, so if we go in total, like for that one, maintenance of motor vehicles, 15,986.25, and we're spending somewhere around 52,831. So, I'm sure that's an indication of some of the stress that's being put on these
So
vehicles.
has that increase been reflected in the proposed budget?
Well, she's still within budget on the control level, so her budget right now is 1,085,085.
Oh, see that? Okay.
Yeah, and she's spent in total 549,000, or 51% of her, introduced budget after the cuts. So, the individual subtotals are not at risk. It only matters that at the control level, we can, stay within that parameter.
Okay, can someone explain what agricultural and animal supplies are for recreation? That's 301.
Agricultural and animal supplies?
Yeah.
That would be, for example, seeds,
Yeah.
agricultural supplies.
Uh-huh.
That's a general line item, right? The animal part doesn't apply to us. The agricultural, that would be, for
Yep.
example, if we buy seeds for the grass,
Mhm.
that would be that.
Okay, so what is this gray column, Ms. Garrett?
It's just what you're spending is consolidated across all the divisions that impact the recreation budget.
Okay, so I need to look at what they have in the budget for that line item and what they've actually spent.
Which one?
That's what I
For-
need to see in all of them.
So
which one?
consolidated, for agriculture and animal supplies,
Yeah.
there's been a consolidated budget for all divisions of $4,060. They've spent $650 so far.
So there's, so do you need to have $4,000 in there?
Well, that, for
Yeah,
example,
Marge.
would
Okay,
include
Kathy, we're on
mulch.
page
I'm
5
sorry.
and number 301.
You see, when it comes to,
Yeah.
the expenditure in parks, there is certain time of the year where those expenditures actually happen. So this doesn't necessarily reflect that we are not using the money, but that the system to use the money, it's not the adequate. When we get to prep for the summer and for the spring, that's when we buy mulch
See,
and
this
that
is,
sort
so
of
this is where it
things.
would help me, I know what we used last year, what was in the budget last year, and what's in the budget this year.
Okay, so in this
And
one,
this is not really giving me the big picture, so that if I look at what you're budgeting, and I can see what they used in the previous year, then I can say, okay, they're gonna need
That's
that
clear,
kind of
right?
money, even though they haven't spent it now.
okay, for example, in agricultural and animal supplies, what we have we are requesting $4,000 this year. Last year, we got $4,000.
Did you spend the 4,000 last year?
I don't know, I am not aware of, last year's
What they
budget.
spent this year, Marge?
Well, that's
Yeah,
what
you
I'm
have
trying to
last year's
find out.
budget
What
out
was
from
spent.
I
the
know, but
introduced
I-
budget.
Yes, it is there, that's what I'm saying, but she asked me if we spend it, and I said that I'm not aware.
So we're 3/4 down in the budget, and you said spent $650 so far out of the $4,000.
No, what she's saying is that they will end up using that, and I said, but in order for me to figure that out, I need to know
Well,
what the
wait a
usage is
minute.
in a year.
Let me be real clear.
Yeah.
$4,000, we're 3/4 into the
We're almost
budget.
over.
$4,000, $650 came out of 4,000. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that you're not gonna use the rest of the money if you're 3/4 into the budget.
She's saying
That's
that this is for the summer.
that's what I
For
was
the summer.
explaining,
The summer
our
budget item.
residents. There are certain expenditures that don't happen in every month of the year, but they are seasonal. For example, as it comes to maintaining the parks and that sort of things, there are a lot of expenses that happen in the spring, early spring.
We're animal supplies. What is that
It
related
doesn't,
to?
those are general, line items defined in the system netments. When, as it pertains to this department, it would be the agricultural part, and that could be from grass seed to mulch. But, basically elements that come from agriculture, vegetation,
So,
biological.
I'm just trying to figure out what the animal supplies is, because this is misleading here. Where is the animal supplies at? Please
Those
tell
are,
me.
those are the,
The line
It's a
item.
genetic
basically
line item.
codes.
Well, back in the day, it probably had some relevance, it's probably an old line item, or general, it probably hasn't been updated in eons, so it's probably related to the monkey house or something. Back in the day.
Oh,
We had
right,
ducks,
right,
huh?
right.
We had animals.
We had a lot of
Right.
animals.
Tell them apart.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why they still
I
say-
said it's misleading, because there hasn't been no monkeys and bears in Cowboys Park in 30 years.
I have a question, the third page from the back.
I'm still asking questions.
Go
This-
ahead,
this-
let's-
let everybody else jump in.
I don't understand what's wrong. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. So Mrs. Garrett, do you have
Yep.
that information available, so I can ask you on,
If you want the prior year number, I don't have the totals, last year's totals, because I just, since with,
what they spent, or,
I don't have the sub-account details of what was spent at this point, because we were
so
7 months in.
1,320, electrical and some communication support.
Okay. Yeah, that's the,
3% of that is.
yeah, so, the only thing I defer with the department heads is there some reason why, is there a timing issue or cycle issue to the payments? Or is there an issue related to the fact that, for whatever reason, or there's a payable issue, meaning that requisition and purchase orders are not being run through the system timely enough to secure, a more responsible budget versus actual, or are you basically underspent? And then in that scenario, you'd have, quite a bit of money.
Yeah,
And then-
To be honest with you, I haven't spent any, during the time that I
Yeah.
have, been the director, I haven't spent any money from that
Oh,
320
320,
account.
so we
Yeah.
could probably,
Most likely you
Next time,
could, because I have not touched it, that I,
so.
I'm
do you think
sure.
70, 60?
That's why
I'm
we
sorry.
needed to know prior expenditures in this line, because if it's not that high, then we can actually get some of that money back.
yes, no, I know that I have not touched that line item, so obviously it doesn't have much to do with it. Electrical,
320,
And comments,
320.
and community supplies.
that's communication probably.
So is there something from that
So
account you
what,
can?
what would be a safe number to leave in there?
whatever it's spent already.
Whatever spent
We have
already?
spent,
2,231. In total, 2,231 for aggregate budget of 79,262. So could we pull 60,000 out of it?
Yep,
Okay,
yes.
so,
Which one?
I have not used it. So.
That's 320, Kathy,
Page what, 13 hours?
60,000.
and so you're
No
pretty sure
worries.
no processing issues there?
Yes.
Right, okay.
Okay, so now we go down to 425, which is
Don't worry.
general equipment
That's the
and
whole
machinery.
department.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Councilwoman Marge is asking you about the general equipment and machinery. You're at, what, 1% spend level there? I don't know if that is
General
represent.
equipment and machinery. That we use for pools, right?
Okay. So that's underspent due to seasonal spending?
Yes, that's pools, that's seasonal expenditure.
Okay, so that's a seasonal, that's a seasonal expenditure, and hence, for now, that's why it's so low.
Wait, I'm sorry, I have to.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Okay. On sub-account 425, that's a seasonal related item, so the spending will be, I guess,
But that's when we start preparing for pools.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
they will need that money.
For the general equipment and material, that's for the pools.
Yes,
But I thought there was something for. Recreational material and supplies, I thought, what is that then?
those are, things that we use at the center, the recreation centers. It could also be, parks for playgrounds and that sort of things.
Marge, could you go back up to 299?
Is she working for you now, that girl youth stat? Is she?
For youth stat?
Yeah.
Okay, no, we haven't gone into that
Yeah.
yet.
Go ahead.
So
That I can
I have
do.
2 questions.
You gonna leave?
I was asking about youth stat.
Yeah, the councilwoman is asking about, the
Two
spending.
ninety-nine.
299, and 100,000 of it was for the youth stat. I don't know if that's even been used.
No, we
but-
haven't used that money.
So there's 441,600, a spend level of 77. If there's no seasonal or processing of the payable issue open there?
We do.
Oh, you do?
We have,
Okay.
yes, we have,
Okay.
payable issues there.
Yeah, so
A
there's,
lot.
they need to get caught up on that
Yes,
payable
we do.
cycle.
Okay,
So it's time to
so-
do that?
so, we should have had some invoices here connected with that line.
Yeah. This is only.
If there's outstanding invoices, we should have, if there's outstanding payments, then we should have had copies of the invoices.
I can provide them.
Yeah, so I guess the real end game though is to see, if you think we're underspent there, how much of that can be pulled up, if at all.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
We
yeah.
probably can take
Can she
about
tell us how much?
$50,000 from there because,
From
to
where?
be honest with you, from 299.
Okay,
We've got the $60,000, okay.
and then another 50 she feels won't need out of the 441.6. And we can collaborate as I'm preparing. As-
Line 299, how much of that you said you could get back?
And
50 from 299. Because I got that back from this,
Yeah. Yeah, oh, you did?
Mhm.
Oh, okay, okay. So that's what they're looking for there.
Okay.
Oh.
But the next thing would be
Yes.
the next.
Thank you. So on the 3rd page from the back, there's a box that says, per conversation with Director Richardson, 11-6. Can you tell me what that
What's the
reference?
line number?
It's, doesn't have a line item. It's, towards the bottom. There's a pink box and under the recreational, natural resource, and, culture. It says per conversation, and there's a line item for Mr. Bobbitt, Ms. Weasel, and
Okay.
White Ned. I have a question about what that box is for, and what does it mean that it's in between, over those jobs?
It's on the 3rd page from the back. It's
Yeah,
that's the
these
amount
were additional folks that,
that this was.
yeah, Yeah, so we went over this together, remember?
Yes.
Okay, so we.
I'm not hearing, so I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, basically, it just, we just added people to the recreation that, were in the vacancies, but then not, they were in the vacancies for recreation, but then for transparency's sake, we put the actual list of the individuals that, you can see some of them were in there quite, from August and.
I don't understand when you say transparency, when,
I guess that was,
is this
I'm sorry.
Bobbitt in the recreation?
Yes, he is.
Yes.
He's an aide, so what are you saying transparent? What's transparent about that?
Well, no, he's currently and
He's
has
currently,
been,
in my department.
and has been,
Yes,
yeah.
as
I'm
community
lost
service
here.
as a community service worker. That's his title.
And so-
I'm totally lost. Somebody needs to straighten this out right now. Mr. Bobbitt,
No, it says a different way, it says Robert, right? Is that Bobbitt or Robert?
Well, his
It
name
says
is.
Robert, but
Yeah, it's Bobbitt,
Bobbitt.
Augustus Bobbitt, it's, it's B.
Does it say Roger?
I'm trying to get, let me get some clear understanding here. That's a clerical error, but it's
Yes.
supposed to be a B. Now,
Yes,
he's
it should
supposed
be
to
a
be
B.
functioning under the recreation, the, administration department as an aide. Is that not so?
No, he's not an aide within the mayor's office,
No.
no. He hasn't been since I've been here. When I got here, he was not an aide.
Am I the only one that thought that?
No.
No?
So we had him in the vacancy, if you look at the, vacancy sheet, we
We know
initially,
where he's getting paid out of. but
he's
that's
getting
not where
paid
he
out of
works
recreation. He's getting paid out of recreation.
And so then that's where he should be at, in
And
recreation.
he is in recreation.
No, that's where he's getting paid out of.
And
That
he-
is not where he's at.
Yeah, he is, that's what this is, this represents all the active
Okay, so,
accounts.
okay, you don't get it. You're not understanding what I'm saying. You just saying what you wanna say. He is not working out of recreation. How could he be working out of recreation and he's on the mayor's heels every day? I'm not
Oh, I
getting
can't
that.
talk
You,
to
you
that.
telling me something that
Oh.
is not
sorry.
transparent. And I'm just trying to be clear on where we're
Okay.
at here.
Well, he's a constituent, what's the title?
Yes, he's
It's a
a
community
community service
service worker.
worker. He basically is the liaison. with the
Liaison for
public.
Community Services, which is the Department of, Community Liaison.
I
So-
thought he worked for the mayor's office of constituent concerns. I
Well,
thought Andrew
that-
Bobbitt worked for the mayor's office of constituent concerns.
Yeah, he
he's-
does.
He does,
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, exactly, but they're saying that he
He's a
works for
constituent
community.
relations, yeah, he's a constituent relations specialist.
Right, in the mayor's office, not in recreation department.
But this
He
says
reports
he's
to
a
the
community
recreation
service
department.
worker.
Right.
Yes.
He reports to recreation, and he's an aide to the mayor, and he's there with him all day long. And we're paying him out of there. Red flag all the way.
That's not transparent.
Well, they need to fix it. That's what I'm gonna say to the administration. Fix it. Fix it, fix it, fix it. Because it's not transparent. I thought they told me that it went over to DCA.
And the DCA approved it.
Yeah,
had him
so
in
what
as
did
a-
they approve?
They
Tell
approved.
me what DCA approved. Show me something in writing what they approved. Did they approve the fact
Okay.
that he's gonna be
That is enough.
aide to the mayor? Or that he's gonna be working out of, what did they approve?
There should be a
So
waiver.
his title, can you remind me of the title?
Community service worker.
He went up for a title that was put into recreation department, community service. DCA, the waiver went over to DCA reviewed it and placed him in recreation.
You should give her
Approved the waiver.
Mhm.
Place him in recreation,
Yeah,
but he's not in recreation.
This is,
So,
He's-
yes,
He
somebody,
technically
you
is
guys,
the-
listen,
yes, yeah.
don't dare insult me in my
Physically,
face, cause
he's
I don't
not.
play that at all. Y'all need to cut it out. Y'all need to fix this. Mr. Cruz, Mr. Finale, and the mayor, just fix it. That's all I can say, just fix
I have a
it.
question. What does fix it look like?
Meaning
What does that
that
mean?
if
What does
he's,
that mean?
wherever he's supposed to be working at, that's where he should be. If not, then transfer him over to the mayor's office, under the administration. Fix
That
it.
means the money that currently sits in this cost center needs to be adjusted and moved to your cost center. That's what it means, to fix it.
We'll talk
It
through
means
this.
that he should be getting paid out of the mayor's
They would have
coffers.
to move that money.
No, I didn't tell them to move no
But
money.
that's how you
I
want
said
it.
pay him out of the mayor's coffers, cause that's who he works for. That's what fix it mean, make it right. It doesn't mean, we shouldn't have to play a shell game here. If he's working out of the mayor's office, then there's nothing wrong with that, as long as it shows it.
I have a question, President McBride.
But
What
the
does a
setting
community
is
service
like
worker
this,
do?
He has to
You have to get that from
Maria
them.
can-
I'm asking. What does a
Maria?
community,
I
what
have
does
no
a,
number. Ow.
what does a
I
community
don't
service
follow
worker
her.
do?
Just know where the
It's
waiver is
basically a
signed.
liaison with the community for
Yeah.
different matters, like, for example,
Yeah, it's
Um,
in the DCA waiver.
right now, if somebody calls with a complaint about a tree, I will, instead of putting the crew to go out and check the tree, I ask Andrew to go out and check the trees. Take photos of the trees, bring it to me.
Okay. That's an example of the duties.
That's an example of the
Okay.
things that he does for,
Council President.
Oh, up to the council president. Oh, okay.
What I'm saying is
Okay,
that this is very misleading,
okay.
and the thing is that you cannot keep doing business like you've been doing it. If he is a part of whatever you guys have deemed him a part of, because I deemed him as a part of following the mayor around. And so that, to me, is where his money should come from, out of the mayor's coffers. But however you wanna make it right, I'm just saying make this right. Make it
Okay.
right,
Make it right.
make it right, so that
Okay.
when we have to address the
1, 2, 3,
public,
4, 5.
we can address the public honestly and transparently. That's all I'm saying, you know, the
Jim,
period,
we'll do it over
We'll
5
break it up.
different groups, okay.
you know? I'm
Okay.
just saying,
No
make
problem.
it right.
We'll break it up. Split it
Okay.
I mean, and some should come definitely from the mayor's office.
No, we will. We'll come from us as well. You'll
So-
split
Yeah,
us over
we'll,
multiple.
I'll fix it.
Well, but who does he report to?
I thought.
He means-
You can't have an employee with 5 bosses.
he
He
reports
reports
to
to
me.
Maria.
To Maria. Yeah, it reports to Maria.
But you can allocate across
Yeah.
percentage, you can.
I mean,
But he does report to Maria, because that's when he has issues
I don't wanna
with
get into it. I should
various things.
allocate
He always
my
goes to Maria.
salary to everybody.
Exactly.
No, so am I gonna hear from,
No, we'll keep it with-
Mr. Cruz, how this is gonna be,
We're gonna come up with a plan.
It's 5, you'll
Yes.
give me direction,
Yes, yes.
business administrator Cruz
Yes.
will provide,
let's address it,
as
that's
long
all.
as it's within your approval, right?
Just address it, that's it.
Maybe 5 groups.
Okay, so the rest of these employees that you have down here, are they there or are they somewhere else?
They are there. The guys from the parks work at the park. They are not in my office, but they report directly to me. Everybody reports to me.
I just have one question about the parks and the resources there that provides services. One thing out in, in Cowwater Park, whatever happened to the park rangers?
They are going back to the park.
What do you mean, we don't have park rangers anymore? 'Cause I don't see
Yes,
them
we
anymore.
do. The park rangers for several years have been working at the parks, but many of them have been working, providing security in City Hall.
Security in City Hall, and not the parks?
Yes. And since February, they have been reporting to some of the parks and to the recreation centers, and to the places that they are supposed to be.
So who makes those decisions, that to pull the rangers from the parks into security at City Hall?
It wasn't me. I can tell you that the decision of sending them to the parks and to the recreation centers, that was my decision.
That was well
Yes,
prior
that was
to this
prior to
administration.
this administration. That
Oh,
comes
during
from
Mac.
Mr.
During
Mack
Mac.
During Mac.
administration.
It just never changed.
Apparently not.
Councilwoman, it was due largely in part to a reduction, substantial reduction in staff of security officers in City Hall, such that we would no longer be able to meet the security needs, the numbers, without bringing in those park rangers. And unfortunately, since we have not added staff to the security sector, those rangers have continued to be utilized in rotation. We have also opened additional city buildings, like the C Center, which required additional members of security, and we have not staffed up. So those park rangers have been heavily utilized in providing that building security.
So how do we change that?
They, as we speak, the rangers have been reassigned to parks and to recreation centers. They, I have to say that they have always been at recreation centers, and they were assigned to parks when the city had special events and that sort of things. But they are now working in the parks.
Okay, so let me ask you about, this here fee. It has $95,000 on there. What is that? Are we paying her a full salary, a full?
I wanted to hold the space. I believe she was a 12-week maternity leave and is coming back.
She's expected to come back at the beginning of March.
Okay, so we had, the impact of her pay was for, yeah, the real impact was the 44,065, hold on. Because I knew she wasn't here the full year.
Yeah, 44 is the impact, and 26.
So you have 95.
Yeah, that's the annual impact, and then the budget impact was half of that.
So when she comes back, that means there going to be 2 directors.
Her title is, what is?
Her title,
Yes, title.
well,
Community-
yeah, I don't know her
community
title
development.
actually.
Director of Community
Yeah.
Development Program.
Community Development Program is her title.
Community Development.
Okay, so then she should be
Programs.
getting a director's salary.
That is actually the salary for that position, for the title.
We can only talk about the actual salary
Yeah.
on the line.
For new, I budgeted her at the 44,000. She's a community development program. Programs. Okay. The only other one I would, because I wanted a follow-up from the council president, for recreation 7010, of this projected 182,000, any money can be taken out of there, do you think, for recreation, pending, I know we're gonna, Thea will be coming back, and it'll be 3 months of her pay, but I guess you and I can later on.
Yes, we need to
I will
talk about
coordinate
that.
with her to come up with, a number, but is there a number
Yes,
you're
we need
comfortable
to-
with now?
We need to talk about
We'll
it
talk
so
about
that
it.
we can check the numbers and.
So out of that 361, how much of that are you giving back?
Well, the director's salary I gotta use to cover the, potentially the overexpended in 7020,
Let's see.
but
The one that we could give for this, what is it?
maybe 33,000?
Yes, that.
Okay, so the seasonal,
Seasonal.
yeah, no,
Because I need to clean parts.
okay. All right, so there's 182,000, I don't know if
Oh
we
my
can,
God.
can communicate right this moment how much of that can be, but right now she's 110,000 that she's confirmed.
110,000 is from
Yeah,
those 2
it's
line
pretty
items.
good, you know,
So we need to get
110,000,
a little more.
yeah. If we can get more,
So we're talking about, the remainders out of this, 361. That's what I wanna know about, how much of that can you give us back?
Okay, 361,
yeah,
that's in-
361 is just the
that's in,
projected, it's a hun,
total.
yeah, 180, I'm so sorry, go
No, go
ahead.
ahead.
182,000 is the projected underspent amount. Right now, primarily due to hiring objectives not being met per Division 7010 recreation. So, can we ponder through that and get back to everybody, or can you commit to something now, possibly?
We can take from here this, part-time, account clerk.
If you need time to do it, the determinants come back with you.
I'm sorry?
If you need time to
Yeah,
figure
well,
it out.
Yes, yes,
So we'll work it
yes,
through.
yes,
We'll work it through.
I do, because,
We'll work it through.
Can I ask her one more
Because we
question?
want some more money out of the
Yep.
department, so,
Can I ask one more question?
yes.
So, the park rangers are back in the park, so are we gonna get, the landscape architects back in the park? Cause I don't see that here.
oh, we don't have a position for a landscape architect in our current system.
How could that be?
And neither do they have the money right now, Ms. Vaughn. We need some money, so,
I agree
I
with
just-
you.
I just wanna ask,
you can
that
deal
the
with your
economic
architect
develop-
person later, but right
No,
now,
I
we're
just-
trying to
I understand, but
determine how we're gonna get some money.
I think that is a requirement for my constituents, that we need a landscape architect.
Well, listen,
down
we
in the
need a
park.
whole lot of things in this city, but the most thing we need is the firefighters in the police department, and not to lay these individuals off in the city that's on the payroll. So
Still
we
considering
need to
that?
talk about that. So you help us talk about that, okay?
All right, so that's not in the, what about the fiscal 20? I just wanna.
It's not, it's actually in the 5-year plan, we consider suggesting rehiring a landscape architect. But it's not for 19, and it wasn't in the
So,
plans for.
back to clean cities and green cities. How are we talking about strategically cleanup and beautification of our cities if we don't have landscape architects? Not just in the West Ward and Cowwater Park, but all across the city. That's what I'm saying, that's what I'm saying.
Well,
It's just a
maybe you could
consideration.
talk to the directors, once we don't lay the people off, about how they could strategize their departments and maneuver people that's already on the payroll around. But right now, our job is to try to not lay anyone off, especially fire, police, and any laborers in the city of Trenton. So that's where we are. We're trying to generate money here in the city to keep from laying people off and to keep from hitting our taxpayers with extra burdens.
Just to clarify a little bit the topic about the landscape architect, we have been able to secure the services of the landscape architect through the bidding process. We actually have a landscape architect as part of our contract with BRS. BRS is the company that has been managing the construction programs through different parks. And so right now, we have a consultant.
So Green Acres, the funding that we get from Green Acres, the grant, and their landscape architect that they use to do the cleanup and the beautification of the DNR, along the Delaware River, Brereton, that runs through Cowwater Park.
Yes.
We can't leverage them as a resource, aren't they? Isn't that grant sort of covers that as well? Can we get the grant money that we get from Green Acres to include a landscape architect? for our
Usually,
city?
Green Acres money is for professional services, more
Well,
than for
landscape
staff. Yes,
Landscape architect is a professional service.
correct, but we need to bring a landscape architect with Green Acres money as a consultant, not as a staff.
Okay.
It's because of the sustainability problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
Usually for grants, we are able to bring consultants, but not staff. Some grants allow you to hire staff, but when the grant money is over, then we need to let that person go. But it's something to be
I
considered
know,
with grant money
President
too.
Wright, it seems to be a trivial service, but it's not. Because we have a lot of species of trees and bushes and plants across our city that we need to preserve, that cost the city a lot of money. Okay, I'm just saying, we do.
Nobody said that it
Okay,
wasn't
okay,
important.
all right,
I
it's
just said
important.
the most important thing right now is to not lay anyone else off. That's what the most important thing is to try to generate some money here so we can stave off a layoff and a tax increase. Okay, so we're at the, you're gonna get back to us how
Yeah.
soon?
Yes.
Right
We can
tomorrow.
talk tomorrow.
Right
by
away.
the chicken,
We're at
yes.
1:10, we'll we'll
Okay.
shoot for what else we can do.
Yes.
Yes.
And I just have one more question.
I'd rather answer them right away.
Looking for,
Okay.
Just one quick
looking for at least, it's 182, we could get 110 out of that.
Well, we've got 110 already.
I said if we could get 110 out of this 182, that would be
I don't know,
good.
we'll see. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll put the target down, but we'll see.
thing.
Okay, I don't know if we.
This is for Mr. Cruz.
Target.
So, overall, just maintenance across the city, in all different spaces, you know, the parks, the equipment. So is it your plan to come up with a maintenance plan for this, sort of maintenance contract or maintenance competency expertise in our city?
Well, the plan has always been to make sure that the city always looks pristine. Councilwoman, unfortunately, because of the budget restraints, we keep the services to
Well, what I mean
vital,
is like,
vital
okay,
services.
like at the county level, right? They have a maintenance, a facility where it's housed with road inspectors and quality, quality, assurance type person, so that when the streets are clean, there is a inspector that goes down to make sure that the person did a good job. When there's a sewer pipe that has to be fixed,
Ms.
and
Braun, Councilwoman, could you, make an appointment to talk about that with Mr. Cruz, because we
No.
have another,
I
budget
see.
docket. You can make an appointment to talk to him on your time. Okay, Maria, we will be waiting to hear from you tomorrow with
Yeah,
the
we'll follow up right away.
110,000, plus the 110 that will make it, 220,000 is what we're looking at from your department. If you could make that happen, we would appreciate it. And
Just one last question about this particular budget. So just to be clear, the, per conversation with Director Richardson, 11-6, why hasn't it been, is that, I'm just a little unclear about why that's there and why it just wasn't added. Why did you have to add the caveat?
I'm going to reply to that, if you don't mind. Apparently, John has submitted this, budget without including those positions, and they look like vacant in the initial submission. And so after we spoke, she put it there for the positions with the names of the individuals.
So the problem is, from what I understand, the way the budget works is once it's submitted, it can't be changed. Like it can't be
This
changed.
is during the
Not
development
really.
process.
This is the development process.
In the
Yeah.
development cycle, yeah.
Okay.
Prior,
once
well before.
Once we make our changes, they can't
That's
change.
it.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
you,
These were positions that were advertised before, before the budget was submitted. And so it was when we met for my first presentation, the date that I had scheduled, that I explained, no, those are not vacant anymore. Those
so we kind of
individuals were
revised the
hired,
active
so-
listing to make it more clear, if that's okay.
No, they did a good job explaining that. I
Yeah.
got it.
Okay.
If I can just say something?
Well, that was a question. I gave you the answer. They gave me the question that I had. I mean, I didn't have to. I asked the administration because they would be most apt to know. So you asked me if you could explain. I'm saying no. They did a good job at explaining.
Well,
You asked me.
Explain something.
If you want to make a comment, go. But if you're asking me if I need a comment on this, I don't.
I just want to say one thing, because I didn't make myself clear. I think I was rambling a little bit. But the reason why I was asking Mr. Cruz about the strategy around a maintenance facility that all the city departments can utilize and leverage, because equipment is equipment. So Maria shouldn't have to have $150,000 allocated to HVAC system repair, a tree maintenance equipment repair, $75,000, right? If the same equipment that our public service, the Public Works Department utilizes, everybody should be under the same maintenance contract or using the same maintenance repair resources, right? So we should have a garage that's dedicated to servicing all our equipment, no matter which department utilizes it. Now, that's what they do at the county, I mean, I'm just saying,
We don't have it.
but you could save a tremendous amount of money. So he should be working on getting that
Right.
ready, and that's the way you can have the savings that we're looking for. Because right now, we're bleeding and we're spending money unnecessarily. That's what I'm saying, we gotta be able to consolidate, that's what I'm saying, Madam President. Do you understand, Mr. Cruz? That should be done,
Oh, you can stand up.
that could be done very quickly.
So I was just informed that during the layoffs back in
No,
2009,
I need to stand
2010,
up.
actually mechanics were also laid off. And since then, the city has only operated under with one mechanic in the one shop.
I think we have 3 total shops. We have Fire has a garage, Streets has a garage, and Solid Waste has a garage. Solid Waste, I think, has 2 mechanics right now. Streets has 1. The Fire garage, which also services police vehicles, has 1 mechanic and 1 mechanic's helper. And those are the entire set of mechanics, to my knowledge, for the entire city. Oh, water and sewer, the utilities have their own
But
operations.
DPW doesn't have.
We used to have
DPW
mechanics.
has,
And you have a mechanic?
No, I don't, but we used to,
They
the
used to.
department used to have their own mechanics, because we used to have a lot of
Okay, so,
machinery, but
like
not
I
any
said
longer.
earlier, if Mrs. Vaughn wants to continue this conversation, she could make an appointment to, continue this, conversation as far as what we could, how you could consolidate your services. And, Councilwoman Caldwell Wilson, did you wanna make a statement?
Yeah, before I was cut off many times, I just wanted to, make something very clear. When we first got our budget books, I was the one that went to Ms. Garrett and said, why aren't the names of the employees in those positions? And that's why you have them in there. That's why I want.
Yeah, and then I made sure. Now, of course, I'll fix it on a more allocation level.
Thank you. And so thank you, so, we will look forward to hearing from you guys tomorrow. Appreciate you coming.
Thank you.
And understanding inspections includes the code enforcement and the UCC, which is Uniform Construction Code personnel. The initial request was a salary of approximately $1.7 million. This includes 26 positions that are filled and 6 that are unfilled right now. We also have a request for $217,000 in inspections under the, for operating expenses. Of the $217,000, of that, I can cut 118, I have 3 vehicles requested, which was originally put in speaking with their department, that can be cut in, so it's 118,000 savings right there.
Where you at? Listen, give me a page.
Out of the 217, we can cut 118?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Where
What
are
page?
you?
Let's see.
Page-
Well, 1 of 8, page 1 of 8. Yeah, okay, hopefully.
Alright.
And we're going to,
We just have to figure out from what area.
It'll be in, right here, maybe.
Oh, okay.
Just
Oh,
three
okay,
bids.
I'm sorry. Catching on now, thank you. Yep,
Also, I can cut another 5,000 in.
thank you.
There's a request for furniture
Okay,
that wasn't spent last year,
okay,
so that can be cut. That totals about 124,000 right there. So we can reduce this budget and operating expenses. Of the 6 open positions right now, we continue to have those need for those positions. Those are UCC, Uniform Construction Code people, and we would, with the fact that we're 7 months into the year, and by the time we get them hired, we'd probably be 2/3 through the year. So we could look at another reduction, at least of probably 150,000 there in this year's budget, leaving the line items.
so let us go back so I can mark on my paper now. For the 2 vehicles, where did?
3 vehicles.
For the 3 vehicles, which line is it? What page is page 1 of 8?
4 of 8.
Four.
4 of 8, and then the same thing, the 5,000 under,
Wait a minute.
Yep, sorry.
Take it to the 4, 8, to the 2 vehicles.
subcode 410. He's cutting that.
So you're giving us. On the 3 vehicles, you're giving us the whole 118.
118 and then 5 in furniture.
Yeah, how much was in your salaries?
Since we're 7 months in, we can do 100,000 there.
What
That's
line
on
is
page
that?
7 of 8.
The vacancies, says 7.
That would be 6 of 8, 7, yeah, 6 of
7, which line?
Division, technical services, 6510. Is that correct? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
6510.
Oh, yeah, okay, okay, the 5 of 8.
There's an excess right now, 304.
Yeah.
Due to-
Okay.
yeah.
Can I ask a question, Madam McBride? Madam President?
Yeah.
So what exactly is technical services? What does that mean?
That's your inspectors for building inspector, subcode official, fire subcode, and there's an electrical inspector in there part-time too. So it's
So we're
technical
cutting that?
inspectors. Well, we're not cutting them in the fact that we don't need the full funding for the whole year because we're 7 months into the year. In the budget originally, you funded for the full year, so you don't need to fund for the full year now.
Because we have vacancies
Because
that we've budgeted for.
So he's been like projecting based on his current rate of pay. He's gonna have some money left over and he can cut that.
Is there anything else you can help us out with?
I think I.
Happiness. You have created happiness.
You think you got blood for the turtle? Okay.
You knew he better come along with some numbers.
All right, so that's 223.
Yes.
That's good. All righty. Okay, well, you made it quick and simple. I appreciate you.
All right, thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
Come again. Everybody can come like that, just knowing that they can get it right off the time. We get it out of the hours ago.
Come again. Councilwoman, that'll be a record.
Easy.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
That was a good one.
$100 per word.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm very happy.
Yes. Want me to kick off a sentence or two, or just leave it open? Okay.
Waiting for the
Yeah, Council President.
How much can you give us? And be as quick as March was.
Yeah, this is quick.
Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening, Council President, members of council. As we move Trenton forward, I think it's been an exciting 7 months, and the bottom line is that a lot of it is attributed to the mayor's staff. I mean, the governor has a staff, the county executive has a staff, I need a staff, and in a $220 million budget and 9 departments, we need someone to constantly contact each of these departments and make sure that the city hall is moving forward in the direction. We can't afford to lose any more CDBG funding.
How much can you give us back, Mayor?
We'll zero out the budget. We proposed originally 665. We can not increase the budget at all. We'll just ask for 601, the same as we adopted last year.
President Brown.
Yes, go ahead.
So on page 3 of 8, it looks like a clerk for the deputy mayor and an aide. Are those gonna be filled? Well, I guess no, are those gonna be filled?
No, but we are looking for, one of the things that we're nearing is to hire a bilingual aide that will reach out specifically to, be able to reach out to specifically to the Hispanic community. I think it's very important. We don't even have a Latino judge. I'd like to get a municipal judge that's Latino, and we're working on that. But that would be the next person that we would add to the staff. Right now, if I can go down real quick, Andrew, as you know, spends multiple hours a day filling council requests. He's actually closed 114 of 149 constituents' requests that have been forwarded by council members. Shakes, who's in our constituent relations department, she works with walk-ins from folks every day.
They said that you can't mention any names here, Mayor, and.
Well, I thought you'd want
you know,
to know what she.
We wanna know how much of this 612,000 can you give us back? That's what we're asking you here today.
What I propose is that we spend exactly what we spent last year,
What
and
is
that no increase. Last year, we
552.
adopted
What was the number last year?
552.
How much could you give us back, Mayor? We're asking you to give us something back here. So
We
I can
proposed
ask
this
every
year
department.
612. We're 7 months into a budget as it is.
Give us something back, Mayor. I don't know how many times I have to keep
So
saying that
it
to you.
would be
Everybody know that they have to
65,000
give
plus
something back.
another
You should have
19.
been prepared when you got here to
Yeah.
give it to us. So what are you gonna give us?
Approximately about $80,000.
Where are we getting it from?
It'll be coming from one salary item, from going from 612 to 552, and then we'll be eliminating portions of the O&E. Again, if we go then those line items like travel, there's no, that $9,000 that's in travel we're not gonna be able to use. We don't need that.
Okay, when you give it to me, let me be able to keep up with you. You're on page of what?
I'm
Page-
sorry, it's, I don't know, what is the last page? Second page? Second page, I think.
So you're on 2 of 8?
Yes, I think it's 2 of 8.
Yeah, travel right here. And so. Saying that you will give us the $9,000 back on the travel.
Correct. Printing, binding, also we'd probably be able to give back the majority of that money. Photocopying as well, I believe about,
How much?
yeah, about 2,000 of that.
3,000 of that?
Yeah, 3,000 of that,
Of the
based on our
printing?
current, yeah, we don't
Okay.
print a lot.
Okay, 3 of the 4 left.
So
Okay.
out of the printing and binding, you're gonna give us how much?
There's 4,322 left,
So-
maybe 3?
Yeah, 3,000 back,
Okay.
yes.
So you're gonna give us
Okay.
3,000 of that back.
Okay.
We haven't planned on doing any advertising, so that's the 2,000 that's in the advertising budget.
Okay.
The housing place and other expenses, we're not planning on doing any housing placement for any department heads. So again, that would be approximately about 5,000.
Okay.
Where are you at?
The housing placement, other expenses.
Other expenses?
299.
And that's, for that, yes.
What about food, President Brown?
How much, you said that, so you're looking at, housing and placements is 5,000?
230. That's almost 19K. That's 19K, just on the OE side.
President Brown. So about food, doesn't the MOU restrict the use of food purchased by the city?
Yeah.
The food is not personal. It's, for instance, during Christmas, we had a Christmas reception.
I thought it was food for any reason, like there was no expenditures for food in the MOU.
I have to check on that.
No, it was food. I recall reading. So there shouldn't be any.
Okay, so that should be, yeah, again.
Well, let's hold on. Let's look at the
Yeah.
MOU.
We believe it's,
Because I think it's important that we have a function. It is not for personal or for staff or to go out to dinner. It would be to further to make this city enjoyable and invite people in. And I think receptions are helpful for marketing the city hall.
I completely agree, but I mean, I think
Let's see
it's
what the
important
Yeah.
that we look at the
MOU
MOU
means
because
for
I
sure.
agree with you. I mean, I think that we should have the ability, and I think that's one reason why I'm hopeful that in the next few years, we can be released from the shackles of the MOU so that they're not nickel and diming us over spending, ordering a cheese plate. But I just want to be clear that the MOU restricts the purchase of food for the city at all.
There's also a state reg, the government reg.
oh, okay, so what it is that if it's for a community-related meeting, which would be in this case the Christmas party, we'd have to go to DCA for the waiver. But for all other food purchases, you're right, correct, yeah, that's.
What I think, because it is in the MOU,
Correct.
but you can look and check it out.
No,
But it is there, but what I think, you can supplement is with your miscellaneous. You could probably purchase out of the miscellaneous, but in the MOU, it does say no
Right.
food, but, Mr. Cruz and Yoshi could double check, but it is in the MOU.
Yeah, correct.
And so staying in compliance with that, you would have to take that line item out of there, but, you could always, purchase something if you're having a guest or someone, you purchase it with miscellaneous.
Yes.
And take it out of the line item to be more correct, but we'll double check.
Got it, yeah,
Just to make sure.
absolutely, we can give that back.
So, we need that answer tomorrow.
No, we can give it back 1100.
Okay.
What's the other expenses?
Okay,
So we're about 19 out of the
so
9,000 at 202, 3,000 at 230, 2,000 at 201, and then another 5K at a 299, plus I guess the food. Did we- Did I catch that
No, I
right?
was asking what were the
Oh, I'm
other
so sorry.
expenses? It
I
says
think
other
that's the
expenses.
total of that.
This
That's
is the total of all of these?
Yes.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
total, yeah,
It's the
you're.
bottom line, it's the
20
total of the top.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, other expenses says 52,000.
Yeah, but-
That's the total of all the, that's OE, other
That's your-
expenses.
Yeah, that's your introduced budget, 52,555. Right now, the spending has been at 20,991.84, and we're taking 19,000 so far out of that excess.
21,000.
Or 21, yeah, is that, I'm sorry, I might have, is that that's the office equipment? Was that one where? I'm sorry, what was that other 1,100?
Two for photocopies, three for printing and lighting, two for advertising, and 5,000.
What was the 1100?
And so right
Did I miss
here,
something?
on page 3 of 8,
1100's from,
you have
food.
the,
Food.
the
Okay.
clerk for the deputy mayor and the aide. Those positions are unfilled at 65,000 apiece.
Correct.
Can we get both of
So
those?
those are well, one position
It's
is,
already cut.
yeah, both of those positions have been cut already. So one was from the original initial budget, it was introduced at 730, and initial position was cut to $65,000. The mayor then has proposed to cut another $65,000, or how much is that?
I'm saying
60
give us both those-
60,000?
I'm saying you can leave the positions, but give us both those salaries. We need both
Correct.
those salaries.
Both those salaries are off, yes.
One was from the original budget cut,
Cut.
and then one we're doing now would be
A second,
65?
another one, correct.
Okay.
An additional,
65. Is that what you want?
correct.
Okay.
Correct. But there's no vacant, yeah. There's, yeah. correct.
Crazy.
George, did you say something?
Well, for the aide, I know you're getting ready to name the deputy. I just want to say, your aide closed out all these jobs. I don't know who he closed them out for. My aide's sitting right here. He closed maybe 5 jobs out. So, somewhere, there's a problem here with your aide.
I don't follow, what are you talking about?
In other words, you said your aide came out and closed all these jobs out. You made,
You mean constituent casework?
yeah. Yeah.
Council requests.
Yeah, council request. You said he closed them out. Well, my aide's sitting right here. We don't have nothing closed out. And I put more jobs in than anybody. And I think I told you 2 or 3 times.
Well, George, this is not true, and.
Well, what is true?
All right,
Here it is right here. Here's my aide. Let her tell you. Let her tell you.
Are you saying there's
wait,
not
wait,
one
let me
street
talk.
that was
Let
paved?
me talk.
No, because you're.
I'm talking. I started to talk to you.
Please be honest when you
I
talk.
started talking to you. I started talking to you. Don't cut me off. Let's be
It's just
fair.
not true.
It is true.
Well, then-
I got all the emails. We're not getting nothing back. I can't get no work done because I'm not getting nothing back. And I have the emails to show you. He's not responding. If he ain't responding, cut him out. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of her spending all her time on the computer, 7 in the morning to 7 at night, and nothing's being done. And I got the proof.
Baloney.
It ain't no baloney. I got the proof.
Baloney.
Come over to my business, I'll show
Baloney.
you. Baloney nothing.
That's not right.
My wife's right there. Ask her. Ask her. She does it. Anything you put out.
Mayor, he's not lying. I sit there.
Teresa, you,
That's wrong, Kat.
well, I just.
Tired of this BS.
Okay, well, you know, I will say that the water main break at 42 Laurel Place was reported to Andrew, reported to Wally back in November. I never got a response back from Andrew. And Friday, all hell broke loose on Laurel Place, where it turned into a river. I reported it to Wally 2 or 3 times. I reported it to Andrew. Never a response. And by the time Friday hit here, we had to pay somebody. Now we're on the books having to call emergency services in because nobody ever responded to the leak. And my neighbors couldn't even come outside, and Mr. Harris can tell you, because he lives right down the street from me, that it was a block of ice on Laurel Place from 42 to 40 to 50 all last week when the temperature broke. I had reported that, but I couldn't get no response to get any attention to that until all the pipes underneath the ground broke.
Well, the first I learned of it is when you called me, and my understanding is Wally was already out there, and the other thing is because
Since
they have.
November, Mayor, it was reported in November before Thanksgiving. I'm not gonna go back and forth. I'm just saying to you that it's the end game is we gonna pay an emergency service crew that had to come out there Friday because you couldn't even walk on the street. That's all.
Well, because it was underneath cement, you had to get permission from DPU. But in any event, when you called me, they were already out there, so they were aware of it. But it wasn't something that you just put a couple of shovels in. They had to have the big, heavy equipment, and you needed DPU permission to excavate further. As you know, we're already faced with $3 million worth of fines from DPU before I came that we're trying to straighten out.
President Bragg, I just want to say that I've had a number of constituent services requests, and largely they've been getting addressed. I mean, I had a resident on Gouverneur who said that there was a pothole in front of her house, and it was fixed like within days. And so I just think that there's a lot of work to do. And I will say that I've had a number of requests that have been addressed rather expeditiously. I do have some outstanding requests, but you know, I know things take time and there's a number of priorities. And so I thank you for at least addressing some major ones for me. And there were some that were, you know, long-standing, like, you know, residents had complained about these issues for years, and they were addressed within days of my reaching out to Andrew and Yoshi. And so, you know, I mean, my experience has been different, but I felt it was important to share. My experience has been relatively positive, and I look forward to my additional requests being addressed in the same way. So thank you.
Yeah, Councilman, Michelle, to make sure, 'cause I don't think you have my personal number as well, as I guess that's one of the things, if you're finding that it's not being expedited enough, that I'll give you that contact and I'll make sure that I follow up.
Yeah, I just want to say, I just want to concur with, I'm sorry you guys having this experience, but I must say, all my issues have gotten resolved and been turned around.
And that seems to be that seems to be a problem for me, because if I call them and they can't send nobody out from November till January, it's a problem for me. That you could sit here and say all of your issues have been addressed, but yet and still I could put a call
But
in
for instance,
since November
I'm gonna tell you this.
and it wasn't
I'm just
addressed.
saying
That's a
overall,
problem.
all right, I mean, there's always gonna be bottlenecks and hiccups.
No,
But
no,
just
I'm
saying-
talking about pure facts.
Right.
When I
I'm saying-
call in from November and it has,
Agreed.
the whole sewer line has to break up, and then you could sit here and say, well, all my concerns has been met. That's a problem for me.
Well,
From
one-
November
well,
to
one-
January, we're going in, no, it's unacceptable.
Well, I'm just saying that there are like residents, this week, there was a huge, we had to call in Jingoli as well, on Maple Avenue, who, a resident, their sewer line was compromised by a root system that grew under the ground, and I think a lot of residents have experienced that. It compromised the piping, and they complained very vigorously. Joe McIntyre got on the line, and they came out, fixed it right away within 24 hours. So again, all I can do is share my experience. And every time I put a request into Andrew Fenwick, I always put a request to Andrew, I CC Mr. Harris, and within, I would say, within 2 days, it gets turned around. So, I'm very happy. And my constituents, our residents, and some communities.
Sounds like favoritism
You know, Marge, I don't think that's fair.
That's not.
Yeah, and I don't think he,
I know there was a period when Mill Hill had the housing tour, that the whole Department of Public Works dedicated to your ward, and they could not even come out to the West Ward. So Marge, they helped you on any occasion. So I'm just saying.
That's once a year.
And I'll just.
I just want to go back to the budget. So, what else can you give us? That's what we're here for, to see how much money you can give us back, and let's see how we can just keep this moving along.
So we're around 84,000 at this point. We're around 84,000 at this point on a relatively small budget.
I don't think any budget could be smaller than the clerk's office, and we gave back 180,000.
86, I had 86,000.
Okay. Yeah, the last one that got me was just this, I'm sorry again, there's a 1 for 1,000 that is gonna be from 202, 230, 201, 299, and then the salary and wage.
Mayor,
So,
So
9, 3, 2, and 5.
So President Bragg,
I missed the, I don't know what that was.
I mean, I would caution, if we're complaining, or not if we're complaining, if some folks are complaining that folks in his office are not being responsive, then it seems rather counterintuitive.
we're looking for money, Jarrell.
No, I understand, but what
That's what we're here for.
I think that looking for money is one part of the budget process, but I think it's also incumbent upon us not to cut our nose to spite our face. If we are making cuts for cut's sake, and not thinking about the broader impact and implication of those cuts, then we are not being prudent spenders of the public's money. And so what I'm saying is, if people are concerned that the liaison for council is not productive, it seems counterintuitive to cut that area when, quite frankly, it seems like they would need more assistance to address our concerns and issues.
Well, we don't have them to give. We need some money back from the administration. They can make the choice, or we can make it for them. So that's what we are. Make the choice, Mayor.
We offered to give back $85,000. This is Kathy, if you want the status quo, and you want,
Make the choice, Mayor.
I made the choice.
Okay.
We're,
So
we're,
then we'll make it for you.
what does that mean?
That means that if you don't give it back to us, then we'll go and see what we can cut at and get it ourselves.
Well, he
That's what it
he offered
means.
up $85,000. You're saying
I
an
said-
additional?
Give us something else.
Do you want another position?
Give us something else. I just keep saying it. I don't know what's hard. Nobody understands me.
No, I don't.
Okay, well, we'll make sure that you do. Is that it?
What would that be? Hold on a second. So our, an even 20% would be, what?
What would it have to be for 20% of the 600,000?
600,000, that would be,
Remember, I mean, I'm taking 65 out of salary, unless you want me to push that further. I was
so we
gonna
can,
do
how about we take 100,000 out of salary?
I
That will
can't-
eliminate the bilingual aid position that we have proposed.
That would help us.
So we won't have a bilingual aid position.
That would help us.
Okay, so we won't have that position.
Now we're talking.
Okay.
There goes. Let's use your name.
All right?
We don't have
That's what we call compromise.
Latino.
So you're basically
Yeah, that's
cutting
fine.
this one.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Where is that at on the,
It was a
Total of
position
100.
that had not been filled.
okay, and that's on what page?
3 of 8.
Page 3 of 8?
Yeah. So 65 from here and another
Yeah.
35 more.
Yeah.
Ay, ay, ay. Plus the.
Yeah, so that's 19, so that's what? That's
Well, 119,000.
119,000.
Yeah. Okay, again, I apologize, I don't know what that 1,000 was. I don't
And that's
know
the
what that
food,
one-
that's food.
But I can't, but we were
No, it's.
Oh,
yeah,
I'm
so
sorry.
we have
So I
to,
got-
yeah,
never
$0.
mind.
Where am I finding
Never
that
mind,
at?
ignore me.
Oh, no, she
I'm
was
good.
confused by the food budget.
Never mind, I'm good.
Three
I'm
of-
good.
three of 8,
120.
what line? 'Cause I don't see,
It's,
clerk for deputy mayor.
120.
It's right here
Very good.
on,
This is active positions or vacancies.
So I have a question.
and understand, so the position that, yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So I have a question. So we're keeping the clerk for the deputy mayor?
No, this position's also being eliminated. That was already eliminated initially. The first 65 that we cut, and then we gave another 65, and now we're adding another 35.
So I'm saying, so on page 3,
So if you look at our total from the initial budget, this is before it was even introduced to you, we made a $65,000 cut before it was even introduced to the, so there was the initial, then we made 65, and then it was introduced to the council. We've now are making an additional 119 on the second round, so almost, we've eliminated 8 positions total.
but no one who is currently there is going to be.
Yes, one person will be, yes.
Someone who's currently working at
Correct.
City Hall?
Somebody will be, yes. The determination will be made by the mayor.
They never came on board.
No, this is, we will actually have to eliminate one person. So the mayor will have to make that determination.
They never came on board. So,
That we are eliminating beyond the person coming on board, we're also eliminating another person, yes.
See, my thing is,
so what is that fee? That is one,
It's so total, the cuts, if you go from our original, it's
Yeah, well-
$185,000
from
in
the
cuts from the city.
612, 737.
So from,
120
yes.
plus the 65.
so that's 185,000, that's
No,
the mayor's
no.
cutting.
You already had put the 65.
Yeah, so we had
So
originally
I wanna
cut,
know from the 612, how much am I subtracting?
there we are additional 120.
120,000 in total.
I just don't know if it's prudent to get, like, if we're already having difficulties, you know, some folks have issues not working. The volume of work is so heavy in the office. Does it make sense? I mean, there's a lot of places we can cut, but does it make sense to cut in the kind of central hub of city government?
Yeah, they can function. They can function with that. Correct?
That's up for the council to determine.
I think last week we were discussing the waterworks, the budget. There was a surplus of $17 million. There were questions about the townships were reaching about if we use part of that money, but out of $17 million, I believe that we could use quite much.
Okay, well, let us finish with Mayor first, and then we can get
So
to
we don't
that.
have to cut the prospective aids.
Let us, well,
I
it
think
does,
what,
yeah.
that we definitely need.
But it doesn't work like that, because it first has to go all the way through the process of getting it. You have to get approved to be able to take that money. You just can't pull that money down out of from the water department like that and put it toward the capital budget. You cannot do that. You can't pull that money down from the water filtration surplus and apply it only to what they have already given us. I think it was 5.5%, and she maxed it
I'm not
out
talking about that, I'm
at
talking in general.
5.81, and right now that's all you can get from that until we go back to the drawing board and see next year if we are gonna be able to tap into that and get up to the 6.31% out of the water, but we just can't willy-nilly go and tap into that surplus because it will not go over well for us with the municipalities, with DEP, or no one else. That is, that comes in steps. You have to take steps to get that money, be able to draw that money down. And so the only thing that I want to say to the administration is that's something that could be worked on in the future if we can
Next budget.
if we could stretch that percentage that we can get out of our revenue that's revenue related from the water department, but I know for sure that we cannot just take it down.
You know, we've a qualified person in helping us with budget in waterworks, which will help us in determining that in the future.
The more revenue that water utility makes, and by doing careful
We should be
auditing,
able to.
the more money comes to back
But
to
it's
the
gonna have to come in, it's gonna have to come in stages, because we're gonna have to follow the necessary channels as far as going to DCA, DEP, and talk, and trying to work through with our, customers, which is all of the boroughs, so.
Why would they have anything to do with what we do with our business and our municipality?
and-
I do not care, personally, it's my opinion, for my constituents in West Ward, we do not care what our customers think about the business that we do with our water company.
And you know what,
We,
Robin?
the residents are the owners of the city of Trenton.
There's nothing in writing,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
the last time, we had a serious lawsuit, and the lawsuit.
Well, let them sue, then we'll just have to go to
And
court
the
then.
lawsuit came in favor, so it's best to do it,
Came in favor of who?
came in favor of the.
What lawsuit is this? Somebody explain, somebody wanna sue
Well,
me on this
not,
lawsuit?
not now, not doing the budget, you had to take that, have this conversation on another day.
Customers. The hell with the municipalities. The hell with the municipalities.
People's money to fix their own.
Right, but that's something that the administration can work on, is trying to increase our percentage of our revenue.
So the question I have is this, we have an aide is currently in the process of leaving your employer.
Yes. We've asked him to. Yes.
Okay, so is he being replaced? Or
No, he was planning on we're not replacing him now.
So what impact, so we're going to reduce an additional aide?
That is the additional that we're asking, we're gonna be able to.
So I'm
use it.
confused.
Initially, it was gonna be a bilingual aide position. So
To
that
replace
position-
him.
Correct, so he's being replaced because we needed to replace, we knew that we were gonna have to give back somebody. So he was asked to move on. We were planning on trying to have a bilingual position created for the city, but that's something that clearly we can't afford to do right now.
Well, the courts will decide that.
Yeah, I mean, I
It's a
think
court
that,
matter.
I would like a biling, I mean,
Well,
I
right
represent.
now,
We
I
are
would
the
suggest
best, we are
that
the
we
best city.
implement.
We are the best.
Right
city.
now, I suggest that
We
they
should have-
they
we need-
implement
we
what,
need adding more people
we
in
have
this
a
city
city
hall.
administrator,
And I'm gonna
we have
make
to
sure that we
implement
get it.
some, serious changes here. And so, for the 2020 budget, if they see a way, if you create some new revenue, then we talk about that, we come back to the table. But let me tell you something, the administration has not given up nothing more than any other department has given up. And as far as I am concerned, everybody had to come to this table with the thought in mind that we went out here and alarmed these people in this city and told them that we were laying off the fire and the police and them beating the doors down. So it's all of our job together to come up with a way to not have to get to that point. And so we're not asking the administration to do nothing that no other department has done across the board. So, you know what? We got some hiccups. Let's work them out for the next budget. But right now, our job is to make sure that we don't go back to the firefighters and to the police and say, hey, we're downsizing. So if there's a hiccup in your office, I feel the hiccup. I got one too. And that's the fact that nobody wants to give the council a raise. So we're all on the same page here. Everybody have to give something up. And that's just the way that it is. There's no getting around it. And I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the person never came on. It's not like we're firing anybody from a position. They were never here. So we're good. Let's just look forward to working to try to bridge these gaps, generate some new revenue, and make this thing better, because we are gonna be hit with a bigger tax assessment bill than we are with this $80 million come 2020. And so my advice to all of us is we better start looking to find some real money, because these little nickel and dimes that we're talking about today is not gonna measure up to what we're looking at in 2019, 2020, when those assessments come in here from all these businesses. So I think we still fared well. That's my opinion. Nobody has to agree with it. Thank you, Mayor. We've got all we can get from you. I wish you could have left another 80,000 on the table, but it seems as though that first 80 is killing you. So I don't want the EMTs to have to take you out. So I want to just thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any comment from the public? We still need Ms. Garrett here to talk about these two items that you put in the package.
Yeah, I did add there was just a couple of small, very small items that got changed, and I
We need to
let
discuss
people
that
know.
before you leave. Do you wanna?
Yeah, no.
Oh, sorry, which items?
It's
No, it's just the sewer and
it's the
budget
sewer
amendment. I don't know if you,
amendment.
Oh, yeah, I have it.
yeah, I can just, yeah, I'm gonna have to look at some, can I? I'm gonna have to look at.
Yeah,
your-
here.
Oh,
The
thank you.
sewer amendment and the water, and the,
yes,
and the
yeah, she
water.
just wants to ask questions.
This is
Do
the
you have the
water.
water one? Oh, thank you so much. Okay, so what do you wanna do first, the water amendment?
Yes,
Okay.
we'll go with the sewer budget amendment first.
Sewer first?
Mhm.
Okay, so this is my, for the council's consideration, where we're going with this now. So, the only thing we changed on this one from your original packet was there was, a general equipment outlay, which should have been charged back to 2018, not 2019. So we did that reclass, okay? And so if you look on, the front page of this, under the proposed column, we have a net, there's a couple of things too. I guess it's in print here. The reduction of 21,622, that was related to the fact that now the Department of Water and Sewer stands on its own. So on a half-year basis, we're gonna only allocate the benefits of the Public Works Director only on a half-year basis this year. Next year, it'll go away in total.
Right.
And then the original general equipment, machinery capital outlay, we brought that down by 15,505 due to a charge back to get it out of 19, put it into 18. And then the other one's just a very small, interest payment adjustment that happens, traditionally when we, revise our debt analysis, and that was just a small amount. So the net impact to the water, started out at 13,037,177.74. We added, our proposed for your consideration, 48,356.76 for a proposed adopted budget of 13,085,534. That changes the percentage, and I just wanted to be, because we were talking about this. The sewer is given the current fund, 1,330,000. From the introduced budget, it's 10.20%. Again, they're not restricted via the BPU, but on the proposed adopted budget, the percentage of the sewer paying the current fund goes down to a small amount, 10.16%. So it's still a relatively healthy percentage that the sewer is giving, the water. I think, that's for the council's consideration. And then on the water side, when I finalized the debt structure with finance, the interest on notes that I had in the original handout of $25,992, we didn't need to reduce that amount. It was originally the $589,959. I was originally good reducing that number, but as per finance, based on the final debt structure sheet, they could not do that. Then to accommodate some of the salary and wages needed by the water utility, the salary and wage requested by the senior leadership, $1,385,009.75. Last year we had an over expenditure, so we have to make it up in a subsequent budget. That was the $17,984.72. A small principal payment on notes, again through the debt review, that had to change by $9,000. And then the overall water utility appropriations, predominantly a function of Wade Trim is one of the bigger vendors. That total was $2,856,897.75. So the net increase of all those salary and wage, deferred charge, interest, principal interest payments, increase to the water utility appropriations was $4,268,892.22.
Where am I can't you're reading.
Well, I'm reading, you can get it from a number source, but I put it, it's right on the front page. And I can repeat it if you want. It was right on the, I just let this sheet now work on its own, and the back, the second page is also the budget. So I don't know. So. Are you okay, Council President? So the original, do you want me to finish? Okay, so the only thing I wanted to mention, is that the original, so the $3,150,000 that the current fund, that the water pays to the current fund, was originally in the introduced budget 6.31%. We're supposed to be more in the 5% area. After the proposed budget amendment for your consideration for $4,268,892.22, that comes to the percentage of the water contribution to the current fund goes to 5.81%. And so those two.
That was an increase.
Yeah, because we increased the the overall amendment for those areas, so it's gonna decrease, the percentage of the water contribution to the current fund. Okay, and so that's for the council's consideration, and I'm, done, that's been reviewed and signed off by senior leadership in the sewer, and viewed and signed off by senior leadership in water. And so now I progress to the current fund. Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Don't
Ms.
giggle too
Garrett.
much.
And so, tomorrow is police and
Police,
fire.
police, fire, and parking. I hope I can get through
Okay,
it.
all right. Thank you again, Ms. Garrett, for your time, and I thank our administration. Thanks again.
So moved.
Second.
meetings or what?